Welcome to the Oak and Onion Board Game Podcast, where we discuss the modern board gaming hobby and other things we're currently nerding out about. I'm Chris.
And I'm Joel.
And we're here to remind you that whether across the country or across the table, the best things in life are enjoyed with friends. On today's episode, we start defining board game terms for players new and old in a new segment called Board Games 101. Then Chris turns the tables with a game lined up for Joel. We check in with the highlight reel to see what has our attention in the board game world. And finally, we check back in on our Golden Geek award picks to see which one of us wins and which one of us has to write a haiku in praise of the other. But first, let's talk about what we've been up to lately. And Joel, do you ever feel like sometimes the universe just smiles upon you at the right moment?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I haven't felt that recently, but yes, I have felt that before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we discussed before we started recording, this has been kind of a crazy, stressful, rough week work-wise. And today, our oldest was having some friends over to swim at my parents' house next door. And I was like, I really want a dirty root beer from the Sonic, which I assume you guys have Sonic in North Carolina.
We do have a few Sonics.
If you're not aware of what Sonic is, it's kind of an old style drive-in fast food type place. And they do half price drinks. They're based out of Oklahoma and started in the next town over. So it's like a huge deal around here. But I decided to go to Sonic and I got the kids drinks and Caitlin a drink, and I got me a large dirty root beer. And I get home and they made it what they call a Route 44, which is bigger than a large. It is a 44-ounce root beer. And so not only did I get to enjoy, in the midst of a crazy week, my favorite drink from Sonic, I got an upsize for free for some reason. I don't know if they just grabbed the wrong cup, but so I changed clothes, took my root beer, and sat in the hot tub for an hour, and it was fantastic and very healing, and I feel a little bit better now. So
that sounds like a good way to spend some time. What is exactly in a dirty root beer? I have never ordered one before.
So what they do at Sonic when they make it dirty is what they call it. They add lime and coconut cream. I don't remember. There's like 2 or 3 things in it, but it makes it kind of like citrusy and creamy and even more delicious. Some people don't like them. Have you ever had a dirty soda anywhere before?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So it's a similar idea. But they put lime in it as well as like coconut cream and stuff. And so it's just, I don't know, it's delicious and it made me happy. And surprise, I got an extra several ounces for free. I even checked the order and I was like, did I order a Route 44 on accident? Nope, ordered a large, but I got a Route 44 and I was very happy about it. And now I get to sit and chat with you for a while and everything's just getting better today. So
the Oak and Onion Podcast, sponsored by Sonic.
Hey, I'm here for that. Give me some half price drinks and smash burgers and groovy fries. So
this sounds like a man who knows his Sonic. I don't remember the last time I was at a Sonic, but
listen, we live in a small town, like 6,500, 7,000 people, and we've had a Sonic longer than I've been alive. So like it's a big deal around here.
It's an institution.
Absolutely. So anyway, that's where I'm at today. How about you? How are you doing, man?
Well, it's the end of the school year, and so that means the wheels are starting to fall off. You know how it is. There's a joke at our school. I don't know if it's other teachers say the same thing, but we often talk about the 100 days of May because it just feels like this month will never end, and there's so much going on and things like that. So,
and the end is like right there in your grasp.
It's so close,
but still so far away.
But every day it feels like, but it's not yet. Like
tomorrow is the last day for our kids and they're having a half day, but apparently it's optional. Like it's not a required day. And so our 15-year-old is like, do I have to go? Because we're not doing anything and none of my friends are going to be there. I was like, these are the days you're supposed to want to be at school. There's nothing to do. You just get to hang out and have fun and party. Like you should want to be there today or tomorrow, that day. And so I don't know. It's just kind of funny, but Hey, you're almost there. Hang in there, man.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it'll be good. I'm teaching a summer class, but just for, like, a week and a half, and so I'm trying to gear up for that, and I've got a summer project to do, and, I'm supposed to one of my coworkers and I were supposed to deliver a presentation during the work days for an hour, so it's like I've got all these things that are on my list that I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I should really be working on that," and, I just really don't want to, so I'm like, "I'm ready for a break, man." So
I don't blame you, man. I have felt like that this week too. I've got things I need to do and I just don't want to do anything. So
to be clear, I am doing them. I am doing them under duress, grudgingly.
yes, yes, in a very overwhelmed, stressed out, exhausted manner, I'm sure.
Exactly.
When is your last day?
Not till June 2nd. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
that's the last teacher work day. Kids have
Okay.
finals next week and graduation, and then our underclassmen come back for a few days for, like, service days and things like that. And then we have a couple work days and that's it. So it really is insight and it's not bad at all. And so I'm just trying to, get through it and enjoy other things instead of that. So yeah, that's good. Speaking of which, have you been doing anything fun lately, Chris, besides enjoying Sonic 44, Route 44, big gulp drink, supersized, extra large? Uh,
Whatever it's called. Yes, thank you for asking. It's almost like you knew I was going to talk about this. So we usually for birthdays and random other moments in the year, we go up to Branson, Missouri and take the family to Silver Dollar City, which if you're not familiar with Silver Dollar City, it's a theme park that is set like in the 1880s, kind of like homestead country style era. My mom gets us season passes for Christmas and they've got some really solid roller coasters. The food's really good. They do a lot of stuff that they make in the park and obviously not all of it is top tier food, but they do some good stuff and the prices aren't insane. Some things are very reasonably priced and some are a little overpriced and then everywhere in between. But one of the cool things they do is they do different festivals seasons throughout the year, and May is barbecue and bluegrass. And so they have a lot of bluegrass groups and musicians playing throughout the park and a lot of barbecue specials. And during those festival seasons, they do what they call a tasting passport. And so you can buy this passport and it gets you 5 things off of the festival menu at the eateries throughout the park. You usually get smaller portions and it's just a cool way to like try and sample all the special food. And so we like to get 2 or 3 of those and we'll all like, share these small tasting portions and try some different things. And
nice.
we had some fantastic food, got to listen to some good bluegrass music. I don't know if you're a fan of bluegrass music, but
I haven't listened to too much bluegrass in my day. Uh, I have nothing against it, but
yeah, I don't usually seek it out, but it's really fun to listen to when you're in the right place and in the right mood. So,
sure.
and then one of the really cool things about the park is since it's set back in that time period, they have a lot of like artisans and craftsmen that make things that they sell in the park and they do a lot of demonstrations. So there's like a
Hmm.
glass blowing studio
Yeah,
and they've got a few demonstrations throughout the day, a blacksmith, pottery, and saltwater taffy. So there's all sorts of stuff to do and enjoy, not just riding roller coasters. And so, but it's a really good time. So we went up there for our middle child turned 12 on Sunday, which was also Mother's Day. And so we went up there for the weekend. They were out of school Friday and we had a good time. And while we're in Branson, we usually always like to stop by. They've got a really solid board game cafe called Dice and Dine. Formerly was the Branson Board Game Cafe, but changed ownership a few years ago. And we always try to stop by there. They've got a really good sized gaming library. You can pay to play all day. They've got food and drinks, and
nice.
we didn't have time to sit and play this time, but I always like to stop by and see what they have on the shelf. And we ended up picking up a few games. They had a really solid shelf of consignment games, and so
Oh,
we got a copy of Longboard from 25th Century that I've wanted to try forever, and it was like $5. So I was like, well,
great,
can't beat that. And then we picked up Tacta and Cozy Sticker, and Cozy Stickerville. Both were 10% off. So
great.
just a shout out to them. If you're ever in that area of Missouri and the country, make sure to stop into downtown Branson and check out Dice and Dine.
Nice. I like that you're representing the, Midwest, opportunities there. Like, I grew up in
Yeah.
Kansas. I don't know if I've talked about that on the podcast before, but like I've taken a few trips to Silver Dollar City before in my day, and also in outside of Kansas City, there's a theme park called Worlds of Fun. I don't know if you've made it
Hmm.
up to Worlds of Fun, but like I feel like if you didn't grow up in the Midwest, then you're not aware of these like maybe tier 2 theme parks. They're not the top tier theme parks, I'll
Hey,
admit, but they're not
Silver
bad.
Dollar City has been rated in one of the magazines or newspapers. They've been rated America's #1 theme park for a couple of years running now.
Hey, there you go.
So
Is,
it's
is that
it's
the
actually
is
pretty
that
highly regarded.
is that the Branson newspaper that rated them?
No, I want to say it was like USA Today or something like that.
There we go. Yeah. Well, I've got some Midwestern pride, so
Yeah, there you go.
I like it. I like it.
What have you been enjoying lately?
Um, a lot of different things. Let me start with what I've been reading lately. I know we usually start movies and TV and things like that, and I've got some of those too. But um, I started this book recently called "Death of the Author" by a woman named Nnedi Okorafor, and it is like I'm loving it. I'm a little over halfway through the book at this point, and it's a it's a kind of Afrofuturist author in the book. This woman kind of writes a sci-fi novel, and then in the book there are passages of the sci-fi novel called Rusted Robots, and there are interviews with her family. This is fictional, right? It's all fiction.
Hmm.
Interviews with her family, and then like some third person narration about her as she's like experiencing the book becomes a huge success, and it has movie adaptations and all these sorts of things, and it's really, I don't know, I'm loving it. It's I haven't been reading enough like literary fiction lately. I like to kind of alternate the genre stuff that I really enjoy with the something a little bit more like meaty, and this actually does a really cool job straddling the line across those
Mm,
things. So I'm just really loving it. It's a really good book, and I've needed a good book to kind of fall into lately. As an English teacher, sometimes I know this is going to sound like blasphemy to some people, but sometimes it's hard to relax with a book
mhm.
because I spend a lot of my day reading and talking about books and those sorts of things, and so sometimes when I come home, I would rather like paint or something like that. But this is one that I'm like, man, I'm really enjoying this thing. It's very interesting.
Nice.
Really, really good stuff. Yeah, I recommend it if you're looking
Nice.
for something a little bit different. How about you? Anything good on your bookshelf right now?
Yeah, so um I am now, I know I talked about this on the first episode, but I'm trudging through the new Jedi Order Star Wars series that consists of 18 books and a few novellas and a like short comic series. I am now on book 9, which is called Star by Star, and it's over 600 pages.
Mm,
And most of them are around 300 to 400 in this one, and I don't know if it's just because it's so much bigger or I've been really tired lately at night. I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm having a hard time getting into it, and I'm not moving very fast through it. I was really hoping, I started it right after the beginning of the month, and so I was hoping I could finish it during May, and I'm like 70 pages in at this point, and we're halfway through the month, so I don't know if I'm going to get it done this month, but I'm trudging through it. I know I've had that happen with a couple of the books in the series. And by the time I get into the meat of the story, it picks up and I get into it. And so I'm sure that I'll have it at some point, hopefully sooner than later. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. I've been like falling asleep right after I start reading every night. So
yeah.
it's just been hard to like focus and get into it. But I will say the last 2 books in the series were a duology called Edge of Victory, and they were probably my favorite of the series so far. They were both really good. Some of the books have felt very samey, where it's like, oh no, the threat's here, they're advancing, battles, drama,
Right.
huge battle at the end. And those two, the way they frame the story and the characters they focused on were very different, and it just felt unique in the series so far. And so I really enjoyed those. And so I'm hoping this one picks up and can kind of follow that,
Yeah.
because I am enjoying the series overall. I really wanted to be able to finish it all this year. Some of that's going to depend on how quickly I can get through this book. So we'll see. I'll check back in on that in a couple episodes, let you know if I finished it or
You're like, I'm on page 170 now.
not.
only 400 to go.
What else have you been enjoying, man?
Oh, we had a really good week of watching stuff, lately. So, we went this past weekend to see The Devil Wears Prada 2. I don't know if you are a fan of the original. We enjoyed it, like, I don't it wasn't like a defining film for either of us or anything, but it was definitely one we thought was fun. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the sequel quite a bit. It's not like a great movie, but it was, it was worth seeing, and it made my wife happy.
I'm sure it's what it is intended to be,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly, and I know that I am not the target audience for this movie, right? Like
Right.
like, I'm not above saying there were only a handful of men in the movie theater, right? And there are a couple of scenes at, like, parties and things, and clearly, like, these shots are lingering in a way where you're like, "Oh, these are cameos. I know none of these people." Like,
Sure,
I've
yeah,
never seen any of them.
that's fair.
Donatella Versace I recognized only because she's a interesting looking woman and they called her Donatella. So I was like, "Oh, that must be Donatella Versace." But
See, that I wouldn't know her first name, so that'd still be over my head.
but, it was fun. I like Anne Hathaway. I like, Meryl Streep. The people were entertaining. It told a kind of a fun story. I have to admit there's a part of me that is like, the Devil Wears Prada movies are about, like, oh, these luxurious things for rich people, can we protect them and save them more? And, you know,
No.
who are who are the rich people that can save this, rich people thing from the other rich people who are the bad rich people? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is quite hitting the moment for me right now, but it
Yeah.
was it was still an entertaining movie. We had a good laugh.
So, I have just recently watched the original for the first time.
Oh,
So,
the
it
original Devil
was
Wears Prada?
yeah, it wasn't anything that ever interested me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so, I just never got around to watching it, and I knew it was supposed to be really good. And so Caitlin, one night we were trying to pick out a movie, and I think I had finally picked one out, and she was like, "Hey, can we watch The Devil Wears Prada?" And I was like, "I guess I don't really want to," but she usually doesn't care and just tells me to pick whatever. So the one time she asked for something specific, now she loves The Devil Wears Prada. It's probably one of her favorite movies, and so I was happy to watch it with her, and I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would.
Yeah,
Now I
it's
think a
it's a
lot
fun
of that is
movie.
because of I think a lot of that is because of the cast,
Yeah,
right? I
exactly.
mean, Anne Hathaway's amazing, Emily Blunt, Meryl Streep, Stanley Tucci. I mean, how can you not enjoy what he does?
Yeah, he's
And
fantastic.
so she had said she wanted to go see this one in theaters, but with us traveling and there's just been a lot going on lately, we haven't made it yet. So I'm hoping maybe we can sneak into a not actually sneak in, but I'm hoping we can sneak away to go see it while it's still in theaters.
I think you'll still enjoy it, it's a fun time. I laughed out
Yeah,
loud multiple times. It's enjoyable.
yeah.
And just I do wanna say, Chris, as your marriage therapist, great job listening to Caitlin's requests there and, being like, "Alright, what you wanna do?" Amelia's gonna be listening to this episode and being like, "Yeah, why don't you do that a little more, Joel?"
Well, and that's the thing. Like I said, she never hardly cares or makes recommendations. And so I was like, well, when she does, I need to. So I knew you'd be proud of me. So thank you for that. But no, I do want to see the second one, as you've teased me about being a completionist. I've seen the first one. I can't not watch the second one now. So we'll see. But
And the
yeah.
and the 32-part web series, did you know about that? You have to go back and
No, I
no.
didn't.
Just kidding.
Back to what you've been watching.
Oh, yeah, what else have I been watching? Okay, sure. We have been watching a bunch of TV we're really enjoying lately, so, I'll mention 3 and maybe I'll talk about 2 of them a little bit more. Big Mistakes on Netflix is, a really funny, 6 or 8 episode series about a brother and sister who, are a little bit selfish, like, they're not bad people, really, they're just a little bit kind of, you know, self-centered a little bit. One of them
Okay.
is a teacher and one of them is a pastor, and their grandmother dies. And right before she dies, their mom says, go bring her a present, and the sister ends up stealing a necklace. And it turns out
Mm,
that the necklace belonged to the mob. And so then it becomes this like series of escalating events as they're trying to like get out of any sort of debt to the mob, but also the mob being the mob continues to be like, well, one more thing we need you to do and things like that. So it was very entertaining. It's created by Dan Levy and Rachel Sennott, and it's just very very entertaining. We quite enjoyed it. But that's actually the bottom of our list of shows right now that we're enjoying. We started on Apple TV, Widow's Bay. Have you watched any Widow's Bay yet?
I haven't.
Oh, Widow's Bay is really, I'm really enjoying it. It's a mix of horror and comedy, which, you know, I know that's your wheelhouse just as much as it is mine.
Absolutely.
And it's about this like small town. It's on an island, and the mayor is trying to, who's played by Matthew Rhys, is trying to kind of make it a tourist attraction, right? Like he wants it to be compared to like Cape Cod and things like that.
Okay.
And everyone, like all the locals in the town, are basically like, this town is cursed, right? Like we can't have too many people here. You know, the inn on the island is haunted. There's, you know,
Mm,
ghost women. And you know, he doesn't believe it until of course he starts experiencing things, but he still wants to get all the tourists there. And so
right.
it's very funny, and also has some good like kind of creepy vibes going on. I don't know if it's going to be Lovecraftian or more like, you know, traditional horror, but clearly there is something going on the island, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
kind of almost tonally in some ways reminds me of something like Twin Peaks or something, right? Where
Okay.
it like it should be this normal town, but people are off a little bit, and we're really liking that. There's just been a few episodes released right now, but we're watching that. And the last thing that we just finished right before we started recording the podcast was season 1 of Rooster on HBO, and it is, I don't know. I have really enjoyed the show. It's Steve Carell plays a
Okay.
guy named Rooster, and he's a successful writer of like pulp novels, you know, kind of like a Carl Hyacin or that kind of guy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
someone who sells airport novels basically. And his daughter works at this like small college, and he comes out to visit her and ends up staying on as like a visiting author for the semester. And it's sort of Steve Carell in like not full Michael Scott The Office mode, because he's much more intelligent than that and like a thoughtful, kind, you know, person, but like also frequently puts his foot in his mouth and things like that. Like one of
Mm-hmm.
the running gags as he starts the job is he's always being called before the disciplinary board for like saying things that he didn't realize someone might find offensive. So like in one of his classes, you know, a young woman is basically saying how she doesn't really like his writing style or anything like that, and he's like, well, I'll convince you, you'll be my white whale. And then it's like cut to him in front of the disciplinary board, and he's like, well, it was a literary reference, I was not commenting on her body or anything like that. So
That's
it's just
great.
like it's very entertaining. Really good cast and really great chemistry. It's made by Bill Lawrence, so the guy who does
Okay.
Scrubs and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, Shrinking and a lot of those types of shows. Not as absurd as Scrubs, more kind of grounded and realistic, but
Okay.
like really really funny and entertaining. Another one of the running gags is like there's basically one police officer in this small town, and he is constantly like losing his gun, and so
Mm.
like, anyway, it's very funny. Highly recommend it. It's been good.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer for it. It looks really interesting. What it doesn't, the trailer doesn't make it seem as comedic as your synopsis did. The trailer kind of makes it look sad and depressing a little bit. So,
No, it's very comedic. There are like very human elements. Like his daughter, her husband has had an affair, so that's one of the reasons he wants to stay in the town, is
mm,
to kind of support her and things. He also works at the college, and so it's not like they can just like part company, you know. So
sure.
there are like very kind of thoughtful themes as well, but mostly it's also just really funny. So highly recommend it. How about you? What are you watching lately?
So I'll give one movie first, and I know one of your running gags on the podcast is to give me a hard time about not having watched classic movies.
Gag, Chris. It's just I am worried for your education. That's all. So,
I did graduate with a bachelor's degree in film, so
that's what makes it all the more shocking.
but for the first time a few weeks ago, I watched the movie Jaws.
Oh, well, all right. You're only 30 years behind where you should be at this point, but good job.
Sure, sure. You know, it was another one of those movies that I don't think my parents cared about, or maybe they had already seen it and they didn't rewatch it when I was a kid. Like they didn't really care about showing me movies
Yeah.
from their childhood. Like I feel like our generation really values, this is a great movie from the 90s that I grew up on. You have to watch it and appreciate it. I don't feel like my parents did that with me. So that's a lot of my blind spots as a child were from that. Now, I am in my late 30s. So
Late 30s to early 40s,
late
somewhere in
30s to
there.
early 40s. No, still late 30s, actually. Next episode, it'll be late 30s, early 40s. I've had plenty of time, but it's just one that I was like, I should watch that, but I just never did. And so I saw that it was on Netflix and it was leaving soon. And I was like, hey, let's watch this. Why not? It was great. Obviously
Yeah.
it's a classic for a reason. I think what surprised me is for the most part, it still holds up really well today.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a little bit of problematic dialogue from one or two of the characters at moments that probably wouldn't fly today. And obviously some of the animatronics, which were great at the time and still for the most part are pretty good. But there were a couple of moments where it's like, that's a little cheesy now.
Right.
But I was really impressed that how well it held up still today. And also at how like brutal and bloody it was. Like some of the slasher movies from that era didn't show that kind of thing. They left it up to your imagination. You'd see the knife and then you'd see the victim do this and then you'd see them dead.
Right.
And with like very little blood on them. And so I was like floored at how violent some of the shark attacks were.
Yeah.
Especially later in the movie, there's one where you watch somebody like get chewed up and like ripped apart. It was just like, geez, and Pete's, I did not expect it to be this brutal.
Yeah.
And which made me like it even more because it was like, that makes it more shocking and more impactful to see. And so, but it's kind of funny as you were talking about Widow's Bay, I was like, hey, that's Jaws, right? The sheriff, and I didn't know Richard Dreyfuss was going to be in it, so that was a pleasant surprise.
And he's so good in it. He's
so good. But like Richard Dreyfuss's character and the sheriff both trying to like convince the mayor of Amity that like, hey, we need to close the beach. Like this is going to keep happening. He's like, no, it's 4th of July. We need our money. And
right.
like, obviously because of that, more chaos ensued and more people died. And so it's just kind of funny as you were talking about Widow's Bay, kind of that mentality of like, no, we're still going to do this thing that ends up being a really bad idea. So it's just kind of a funny parallel there to Jaws.
Yeah, Jaws is great, man. Yeah, it really does hold up. You were talking about the animatronics and things. There's and if you already know this, feel free to stop me. But like when I teach my film class, there's an interview with Steven Spielberg I play often during the editing unit, or at least part of it, where he talks about editing the film and how his editor always was. So the background on Jaws, you may know, like it was a nightmare shoot. Like that shark always stopped working, all those sorts of things, right? And
I've heard some of that.
Yeah. So he's like, when I got to the editing room, I wanted as much shark as possible because I had spent so much time on it. It was so expensive. We'd worked so hard for it. And the editor was always like, no, show less shark, all that kind of stuff. Right. So the editing of that, I think, is just really fascinating. And the whole movie, I still love it. I think it's a great one for sure. I've not watched any of the sequels. I've heard they're all kind of increasingly bad, but that first one,
look increasingly bad.
Yeah. I know Michael Caine was in one of them and has basically said like, yep, it was a paycheck. That was all I cared about with that movie.
The trailer for the second one didn't look awful, but it also didn't make me want to watch it immediately.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was great. I'm glad we watched it. Caitlin had seen it before, and the two kids we watched it with hadn't seen it, and they really enjoyed watching it. So
that's awesome. Well, I know we've got a pretty packed show here. Should we just talk a little bit about games before we talk about games, and then
and then we'll talk about games some more?
Talk about games to wrap things up.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. What have you been playing?
So we took a lot of smaller games on our trip last weekend. I usually take way too many games when we travel. And this time I was like, I'm going to take small games that play quickly and that for the most part we could all play together. There were a few that were only 4-player games. And I think I took 11 games and we played 6 of them.
That's pretty good.
So we did okay, and one of them we played twice. Two of them were played twice total, and so I'm going to talk about both of those briefly.
I feel like, by the way, that should be, I know on social media there's been a lot of like, oh, you're a board gamer if this, like, you bring 11 games and are happy that you played 6 of them. Like, that is very much,
Yeah,
like, both of those things are very much
yeah.
like board gamer things. So I was gonna say, like, I never bring more games than we need. I always just bring like 1 or 2. No, just I'm
I was
always
going to
like,
say just
"I
quit
got this
lying.
giant bag. Anybody wanna play one?" They're like, "We'll play 1."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was kind of bummed because my goal was to play them all, and I packed them specifically because I knew they could all get played. But two of them got played twice, so that kind of
Yeah.
hampered that a little bit. But the first one I'm going to mention is Love Letter. Right, I've talked about Marvel Love Letter, I've talked about Star Wars Love Letter, but we are trying to play through a whole collection this year. We're doing okay. We could be doing better. So I took Love Letter because I knew our youngest had been enjoying the other two, and he's mentioned playing the original a couple times lately. So I was like, well, let's take that. And we ended up playing that twice. And it is still such a solid game, right? Like some
Mm,
of the reskins and the re-implementations kind of make it, in my opinion, a little bit better, but there's still
okay.
something about going back to the classic original.
Sure.
And it's just such a fun game that always brings moments of frustration, moments of laughter, moments of randomly guessing a number out of nowhere and getting it right. And it just feels good. So we played that one twice last weekend on our trip and had a great time with it. If you don't know Love Letter, basically it's a little bit deduction, player elimination kind of a game. So it's a small deck of like 16 or 17 cards, and each card has a number and a special effect. And you always have one card in your hand. On your turn, you draw a card. So you'll have two. You choose one to play for its effect. One of them lets you guess a number in one player's hand. And if you guess it right, they're knocked out of the round. One lets you look at somebody's hand. One lets you compare cards, and whoever has the highest one is in and knocks the other player out. One's a protection card, and they're so on and so forth. They're numbered 1 to 8. And the ultimate goal is to be either the last player in the round or have the highest card if multiple players are, and whoever accomplishes one of those things gets a point token. And depending on player count, you play to a certain amount of tokens. And so sometimes games can be 10 minutes, sometimes they can be like 45, depending on how the point tokens spread out. Because I'll never forget one time I played it with a couple of friends, and at 3 players, you're going to 4 or 5 tokens. Anyway, they both needed one more token to win, and I had no tokens, and I
Mm.
came back and won. And so it's like, and that's part of what makes it so fun is like you can never really predict how the game's going to go,
Right.
and it's just a lot of fun and a good time. So I'm glad we pulled that out, and glad we got to play it a couple times and enjoyed it together as a family. So
Nice. That's a good one. I've played that a few times with some students and they've enjoyed it. It's been a good one.
what you got? You want to give us one?
Sure. Yeah. I played. I didn't play too much outside of the weekend this past weekend, but Amelia and I did get a chance to check out a game by friend of the show Matt Cousineau, who was on our show last episode, and that's Kyperium. We got a chance to play the game he designed. Have you had a chance to play this one, Chris?
I did. I did a demo of it at Nerdfest, which was put on by the now defunct Gamecasters podcast. Shout out to Ryan, Natalie, and Jeff the Mad Board Gamer, which their podcast and community that they created is the only reason I have met Matt and know who he is. And
Hmm.
so it was, I think it was before it was even on Kickstarter. The first year he came to Nerdfest, which was my second year there, he ran some demos, and I got to do a demo with him, and we did kind of a
Nice.
quick kind of half playthrough.
Yeah, yeah. It's a clever little game. There's some really interesting choices in it. If I don't think it's got a huge release, so just if people haven't heard of it before, like it's a worker placement game, but it's a game in which you have like a grid. You're playing across from each other, and each player on their turn, one of the things they can do is put a worker out, but they can also play a card. And cards give you a benefit when you play it down, but it
Hmm.
also provides a worker placement location for your opponent. So you
Mhm.
can't put cards on the locations you put down. You have to put them on where your opponent puts down. And then when they collect all their workers back, that's when they get all these resources. One of the resources allows you to advance on this like racetrack, basically, and whoever gets to the end of that racetrack at the end is going to win the game. And I thought it was really clever.
Mhm.
It was meaner than I thought. That's for sure. There was a lot
Yeah.
of things that you can destroy some of your opponent's resources or things like that that definitely got the best of me a few times. Amelia managed to deploy those very usefully. And so she won the
Good for
game,
her.
even though I was ahead for most of it by just sort of I couldn't get the resources I needed to take that last step on the track. And so
Nice.
yeah, it was fun. It was a good game. I think I definitely enjoyed the thinking about like, okay, which in my hand of cards, which location is the best one for which benefit in the card is going to be the best for me, but does that give her access to something I don't want her to have access to? And you're also
Mhm.
trying to match corners of the cards. That's one of the ways you gain some of the resources that you need is by color matching the corners of the cards. And so, okay, I want this effect, but I don't have any place really that I can play it that those corners are going to come in handy right now. So I like that. I thought that was some really neat choices there for sure. If you're okay with some take that, then I think that it's a great little two player experience for sure. So good job, Matt.
I would like the chance to try it again at some point because it was at the end of a like the very last game I played at the convention
Yeah,
that weekend. And so, brain tired.
yeah,
And I didn't fully understand it. And I played against Matt.
yeah.
That's a bad idea. I'm pretty sure at one point in the game, he's like, okay, I think you have an idea and I'm going to make two more moves and destroy you. And the game's going to be over. And I was like, oh, cool. Thanks. So
Now that you understand, I can stop toying with you, and we can just
yeah,
get this
yeah,
over with.
yeah. So, and I mean, he was giving me advice and helping me along throughout the game, but I think finally it was kind of that point. He's like, "Okay, you're gonna lose, and this is how." And I was like, "I don't understand what happened." So, but yeah, I definitely need to try to get at some point and
Yeah,
hopefully not play it against Matt
yeah,
and maybe succeed a little bit more.
that's right.
So,
Yeah, so that was fun. I enjoyed that one a lot. What else have you been playing?
the other game that got played twice last weekend, and it may have gotten played twice because Caitlin beat me really bad, and I said we're playing it again right now, and that was my Shelfie from Cranio
Oh
Creations.
yeah,
I don't know if have you
I
played
have.
this?
Yeah,
I take
yeah,
it. Okay, it's a solid tile drafting grid coverage puzzle game, right? That by itself is a really solid game, but doesn't do anything super unique mechanically.
right.
But if you're not familiar with the game, what makes it so fun is you have like a Connect 4 type tower in front of you that is your bookshelf that you are drafting and dropping tiles in to satisfy scoring conditions. And so that is what makes the game stand out a little bit,
Yeah,
like the table presence and that uniqueness of actually building a vertical 3D bookshelf. But during the game, you've got a board of tiles, and on your turn, you can draft 1 to 3. The caveat is every tile you take has to have at least one free side before you start taking your tiles. And
mm,
so there's kind of some forward planning, especially in a 2 player game. When you played it 3 or 4 players, you're probably not going to get the tiles you want as quickly as you want. But in a 2 player game, there's a little bit of kind of forcing the draft to potentially go the way you hope it will, especially if you're going for different things. You can make part of the board be exactly what you want as you go. And then every tile you take, you have to drop in the same column, but you can place them in whatever order you want. So just because it was the first tile you took, it doesn't have to be the first tile you drop in. And your ultimate goal is there are going to be 2 public scoring objectives. Whoever completes it first is going to get more points. And then you've got a private scoring objective that requires specific placement for each of the 6 different colors of tiles.
hmm,
And what's cool is the colors / categories of tiles are all things you'd put on a bookshelf, right? You've got books, you've got trophies, you've got board games, you've got plants, you've got cats because they find their way into things. I think it's only those 5 actually. I don't think there's a 6th one. The shelf you're dropping things into is super fun, and like I said, it makes the game more unique.
yeah,
And but without that, it's still a really solid tile drafting grid coverage puzzle game. racing to complete objectives. And so it's one that she usually always wins. And I did not do well the first play, and I kind of messed myself up on the public objectives. And so we got done, and I was like, I need another chance at this. And she was like, sure. And then I won. And so it was great.
Nice.
But yeah. And I mean, it plays super fast at 2 players. I think it took us less than 15 minutes to play it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So the only negative of the game, in my opinion, is having to refill the board of tiles.
Yeah.
Because if there's less than 4 tiles at the end of your turn, you put the rest of the tiles back in the draw bag and refill the board. And that, especially in the middle of a game that's moving quickly, can feel very tedious and kind of stop the momentum of the game flow.
Sure.
But it's not a huge deal. But that's like the one negative of the game to me. Every time I'm like, oh, we got to stop and fill the board. So
you just want to go.
Yeah, I want to keep going, man. I'm trying to fill my shelf.
Need a BGA version or something. Might be on.
I'm pretty sure it is on BGA,
yeah.
but you lose the uniqueness of the game playing it on a computer screen. So
yeah, well, that's cool. That sounds fun. Well, I played a couple more this weekend that I wanted to mention a little bit. 2 short and I think are going to be pretty great card games this summer. One is Down Up and one is Questline, and these were both review copies that I was sent. And Down Up is it's by the same designer as Scout. I think his name is Kei Kajino or something along. I think that's correct. And basically, you're trying to. It's kind of a race to get rid of the cards in your hand. It's a shedding game, and you get rid of them by playing them down on the table in sets. And if nobody plays a higher set of that same number of cards before it gets back to you, then you get to discard the cards and play a new set of cards. And if somebody does beat the numbers that you played, so if I put down 2 2s and you put down 2 4s, then I have to take back those cards I put down, but then I flip them upside down. And flipping things upside down, it's why it's called Down Up, is like the name of the game. Every time you're bringing cards back into your hand, you're flipping them upside down. It's very fast. It's probably, a 10, 15-minute game max. And it's very enjoyable, though. Like, it's a really fun race to try and figure out, like, ooh, is there a way I can beat that person to make them, take their hand up? Or, can I add a card to what they've put down? Because I don't have a great option right now that I don't think someone could just beat, but they've got, 3 1s on the table. I can just throw my single one, which would definitely, someone would make me pick up again, and throw that down on the table and they're set. And then I've at least gotten rid of 1 card. And if somebody makes them pick up those cards, it's going into that player's hand rather than my own hand. And so you can do a couple other things. You can flip your whole hand upside down, but really the options aren't too much more than that. And the first person who goes out gets 2 letters. There's a bunch of little D and N letters in the box, cardboard cutouts, and the second person gets 1 letter, and you just go till someone has D N U P, right? Or 4 letters. You don't even have to spell the right words. Just get 4 of those letters.
Yes, you do. Why would you not? That's the whole point.
You could spell up or ooh with all the U's. But I like that one. It's coming out at the end of May, and I think it's going to be a great, like, take to the beach type of game, right? Take to a cabin with your family, because it's one that non-gamers can easily understand and enjoy, I think, pretty well. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I need to take my turn. It's probably my turn on Board Game Arena.
I think it is.
Because Joel and Ken and I we started a game of that today.
Yeah.
So
good. It's a good Board Game Arena version of it. What's the word I'm looking for here? It's a good
implementation.
Thank you. That's the word. Implementation of the game. Yep. Thank you. And
we're gonna help each other through this episode. It's okay.
But I think it's more fun on the table, just because it's the actual taking and flipping and things like that.
Sure.
Whereas on the computer, especially if you're not playing a live game, like we're playing a turn by turn, it's like, oh, I guess those cards went back into my hand somehow.
Yeah. Well, they just added it to BGA, and after Matt talked about it on our last episode, I wanted to try it and see, how it played. And
it's fun. I'm glad you started it, but but I would also recommend the physical version, playing it with some friends.
I think the 28th.
I think that's right. Yeah, May 28th.
I think I looked it up today. I was hoping it came out sooner, but May 28th.
Well, the other card game I played has a little bit longer to wait. That is Questline from Thunderworks Games. And this is a Also a very fast game, plays in about 10 or 15 minutes. Basically, you are playing simultaneously and there's no turns even, so, you're trying to create a number line, basically, out of the cards in your hand.
Hmm.
Starting with a 1, the 1 is going to each card has some sort of image or story. The 1 is gonna be, like, what your character type is, so it could be, an elf or a thief or something like that. And then all the
Hmm.
other cards are going to be, like, part of your story that you're telling. So you're gonna be telling a story through laying down these cards eventually. You can take a card and then discard a card into your personal discard pile, and you can take it from the face down card stacks in the middle of the table. You can take it from either of your neighbors' discard piles, or even from your own discard pile. If you discarded something, then later in the game you're like, nope, I want that back. You can take it from there. And when I say pile, like, all cards are visible that you have discarded, right? So it's not a only the top card type of scenario. So you're trying to sort these cards, and all the other cards beyond one have typically symbols on them, and, like, this is going to score for every symbol to the left of this card, and
Mm,
this type of symbol will score to the right of this card, and this type of symbol is going to be canceled because of this card, and then as basic point
interesting.
value to them as well. And you try and get as many numbers down as you can. You have 7 cards, right? First person who feels like they're ready lays down their cards, turns over their discard pile. Those aren't available to choose from anymore. And then they take, like, an epilogue card, and the top epilogue card is worth 6 points, and it descends from there. And I think the best part of this game, the game's fun. I enjoy it a lot, and it's fun to try and figure out, okay, what's the best combo here? I've got a 4, but it doesn't really work with the symbols I have. Do I keep fishing for a 4, or I just accept that my 4 isn't going to score very much and get those points for being the first to go out? But then when you lay them down, after everybody's laid down, the best part is you can, like, tell the story, because every card has, like, a little title that's like stole the cursed armor, and then down below it will be like, if you satisfy the conditions down below, it'll be like, and gave it away to your worst enemy, and so you get extra points if you have the right symbol or something like that, right?
It's
So
fun.
it's like telling the story after is really engaging, and I know it's one of those games that some people are going to be like, don't bother with the story. It's just count up the points and that's it. But I think the story is the fun part, because you're
Yeah,
laughing about
absolutely.
the little adventures and stuff. So it was a fun one. I
That's
really
right.
like that one. I had played it at Tantrum Con this year, and then now I have this review copy, and I
Nice.
think it's a winner. I was excited to check it out some more. So uh,
Now, are are all iterations of a number going to have the same scoring
no,
conditions, or are they
they're
unique?
all unique. Every
Okay.
number is unique. So all the twos, I believe, I've not seen any that have the same scoring conditions on them. I don't
Okay.
wanna
That's
say
cool.
none of them, because 'cause I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
every card is unique.
That just gives it a lot more variation.
Yeah,
So,
and some cards will, like, allow you to skip a number, and some cards have, like, 3 and 4 on that card, right? So you can, like, get up to, I think, 9 or 10, basically. So, yeah, it's always gonna feel a little bit different, and definitely variety in the types of cards and stories and things. Yeah,
yeah.
good question.
And that is set in the role player universe. Is that
It
correct?
is, yeah. The art, I mean, it's not there's nothing that's going to directly say, like, "Oh, you'll have a better time if you know the role player universe," but, like,
Sure.
but yeah, I'm the art, the
Yeah.
characters, those are all things from the role playing universe. I say characters, I mean, like,
Yeah.
archetypes, right? The figures.
Sure. Yeah. But I was just curious because if you know Thunderworks games, if you've played pretty much any of their games,
Yeah,
you're going to recognize the art
yeah,
style and the setting for the game,
yeah,
was, really just the question.
yeah, absolutely. And that one comes out at Gen Con, and then I think it has a wide release on August 4th. So,
Okay.
yeah, it was a good one for sure. Anything else you wanna talk about game-wise?
Yeah, I'll throw one more out real quick. So we talked about this last week on our Star Wars episode, but Star Wars: The Clone Wars hit the table twice on Star Wars Day and on the 5th, because I played it with 2 of the kids on Monday, and I wanted to play it all 5 of us together on Tuesday. And the game's just so much fun.
Mm,
If you've never played it, it's a pandemic style game. It uses the pandemic system. I did get a question from somebody on my Instagram asking, what the differences are. And while it feels very similar to Pandemic, it also feels very unique and its own kind of thing, because there's 4 villains that you can choose to play against, and each one kind of offers a different thematic gameplay and kind of hurdles to go through. There's missions you have to complete before you can defeat the villain, and so it still feels different. And I personally enjoy it way more than Pandemic. Not that Pandemic's a bad game, but it's just we don't own it anymore because I have other cooperative similar games that I'd rather play, Clone Wars being one of them.
Sure.
And the first night we played against Grievous, and that was really fun. And the second night we played against Count Dooku, and we were so close to winning, but we just didn't quite make it. And which is how that game usually goes. You either win by the skin of your teeth or you almost win. You know, I feel like it's very rare to just get obliterated or have an easy victory.
Right.
But Count Dooku, and the reason I just want to mention that real quick is he was really cool because, and if you are familiar with the Clone Wars show at all, he kind of uses Grievous and Asajj Ventress as kind of his Padawan apprentice pawns throughout the wars. And all three of them are present during the game. And so like he will send Maul and Asajj out when a certain card comes up. And so you'll have to fight the three of them consistently through the game. And it was very overwhelming at times, but it was just really interesting and felt so thematic.
Yeah.
And it was just a really good time.
Nice. So, yeah, I haven't played that version yet, but it seems like an interesting one.
Yeah. I will say I have decided, especially playing it again this year, it is not that you wouldn't enjoy it because you're familiar enough with Star Wars that I think you know the planets, you know the characters.
Right.
But it's so much more enjoyable to me now knowing all of the story of the Clone Wars, and the mission cards are actual like episode storylines. And so like you'll flip one up and be like, oh, hey, I remember watching this. I really enjoyed this. And, you know, and so it makes it, you know, you're talking about reading the story of Questline.
Right.
It's just one of those things that the flavor text and the stories behind the missions that you're doing in the game, knowing the storyline from the show just makes it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's cool. The last one I wanted to just mention, just so people don't think we always love every game. I actually like this game, but I think it's got some challenges. We played Coming of Age this weekend, and it's a Danny Garcia game, and I think Danny Garcia is a pretty interesting designer. I think he does some cool things, and he does a lot of like point salady things, right, where everything is going to get you points. So coming of age is all about like growing up. You kind of play it over 9 rounds, and it kind of represents ages like 9 through 18. And there's some really cool stuff in terms of like how it's approaching this idea of like adolescent development. So your player board is like an outline of your head, and you've got different things that you're trying to balance, tracks you're trying to move up and down on that are like, are you, bored or having fun? Are you lonely or popular? Are you lazy or fit? Right? Those sorts of things. Just trying to balance like what a well-rounded life looks like. And part of it's also about like developing relationships, and you can kind of over the course of the rounds get closer and closer relationships with people and all that. Overcoming frustration. There's an element where you can like take a frustration token in order to move. It's a dice placement game where you roll your dice and the number tells you what locations you can go to.
Okay.
You can take a frustration token in order to go to an adjacent location instead. And then if you overcome that frustration, which there are ways the game allows you to do that, then it flips to a thing where eventually it can get you some points, right? It can turn into points. And it's like, oh, you've learned how to deal with your frustrations in life, right? And so it's a benefit in the long run and stuff. So lots of really like neat ideas throughout the game, I think, that is really hampered by a very poor rule book and some bad like design choices. And the one that it comes to mind for me most of all is like the place where you put your dice to say like, this is the location I'm going to go to. It's represented as like a street. And there are 3 kind of actions in there. There's the bonuses that you get when you immediately put your dice there. And then after everybody has like placed their dice and gotten their bonuses, then location by location, you activate it with like this bus that comes down the street. But the bonuses are like in the middle of that location. And then there's the bus, which is at the bottom of the location. And then you do the location, which is at the top of that location. So it's like it's very hard sometimes to just, like, manage, like, I'm in the middle here, and now I gotta go down for this action, now I'm going to the top to complete the action. It's just, like, choices that, I feel like could have been designed more cleanly in terms of how they're presented
Hmm.
in the game. Not that the game design is flawed, right? But that the way that the game is presenting them ends up feeling very confusing. And clearly, they
Hmm.
also tried to go for a text-free version of the game, which, of course, is going to be cheaper for. Then you only have to replace like rule books. You don't even have to do that because there's just Spanish and English. Both rule books are in the box. Player aids are
Hmm.
two-sided, one Spanish, one English. But as a result, like, there's a ton of symbols in the game that aren't, like, uh, I to me, they didn't feel like, "Oh, I would obviously know what this symbol means."
Yeah, they weren't
Some
very intuitive.
Yeah, exactly, and there is one player aid that's, like, a shared player aid that has a guide for all
Mm,
the symbols, but, like, I wanted my own version because 'cause we're just, like, passing this thing
right,
around being like, "Okay, what does this mean again? This ongoing bonus I have, what is that?" And so, just choices that got in the way, which, I'm sure multiple plays would smooth some of those things out, and I overall enjoyed the game, even though it was a lot to try and manage in my brain because, again, the rule book wasn't great, but
right.
I was nobody else at the table was like, "Yeah, I'm excited to play this again." They were all like, "Okay, yeah, this is probably a pass to try it a second time." And so I just don't know if it's gonna get over that hurdle for a lot of people, if that first
Hmm.
experience is bad to try and, like, push through that to get to the second play that might be a little bit easier. I've almost got Amelia convinced that we can do like a two-player version and see if it clicks better for the two of us,
Sure,
and she liked it okay, but the other two guys we played with, they were like, "Yeah, we don't need to play this one again." So, yeah,
that's a
they're
bummer.
not all winners. Some of the design choices are really cool, and like I said, the player boards being your head and overall, like, there's a lot to like about it, but, it didn't quite stick the landing, I think, for being a game that's gonna take off like the way I wish it could, so
Yeah, that's a bummer. Now, and this may not be a great question to ask, but do you think that's more of a designer fault or a publisher
I think it's
fault?
a publisher fault, right? I think
Okay.
I think, like I said, so take that location, the way there's 3 different actions, but it's middle, bottom, top. That's a visual design choice, right? Not a game design
Yeah.
flaw. Because if they had flipped those things, so you're just, like, moving your dice up to activate each location, right, then it's gonna make a lot more sense. It just creates a little bit more, like, mental grit that in a game that there's already a ton to think about, it was one more piece that's like, "Oh, why do I have to try and remember this every time?" Right?
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
bummer.
because people would always be like, "Oh, now I'm gonna take this action." We're like, "Nope, you forgot the bottom action. You gotta do that first before you do the top action," and just
Mm,
silly things. So
yeah. And that's a bummer because Danny's got some
yeah,
bangers that he tends to be a designer that we've really enjoyed the past 3 years with Barcelona, Windmill Valley.
yeah,
Neko Syndicate is another one
yeah,
that
it's
is
great.
a fairly newer game from 25th Century that we're enjoying. I picked up a copy recently and we've played it, and really really solid, simple game.
Yeah.
It's not one of his big box games that is super rules heavy and super strategic, but it's a smaller box game that still packs a solid strategy punch. And so that's kind of a bummer to hear that because I've been really interested in coming of age, but I have heard some mixed things.
Yeah, I do think it's a publisher issue. I think, like I said, I'd be interested to play the game again because I think there's some really good potential there. And just as a
Yeah.
teacher, I really do like the way it's kind of thinking about, adolescent growth and development and stuff. But
Yeah, the theme is sounds super unique
yeah,
and sounds like they incorporated it really well
yeah,
into the mechanics and the gameplay, but
yeah,
that's a bummer. And player aids are one of those things that I will never understand. Like, why, if you're going to put one, why just put one?
yeah,
Like, that's not an expensive thing to print one for everybody. Like, it'd be so simple. It blows my mind. And especially for the bigger, heavier, thinky games, like, you need to put a player aid in the
yeah.
box.
And just so I'm clear, I don't want anybody to be like, "Oh, he's saying it wrong." There are 4 player aids in the box that take you through the round steps. On the other side of
Okay.
those are the round steps in the other language, either Spanish or English, right? The player aid, what it needed though still was the symbols, right? The
Okay.
iconography, because some of them you get used to really fast. It's just like, "Oh, this is a point, right? This is I get this kind of
Hmm.
token." But some of them are in like one spot, and so every time you're like, "Wait, what was this one again?" Right? So yeah, those were some of the issues that I think they could have
I
made
gotcha.
better choices. And like the rule book, right? When the rule book will be like, "We'll explain this concept later." Well, give me the page number so that if I want to go back and reference it later, I can figure out where to find that. There's no table of
Right.
contents, there's no index, right? And so it's like hunting and pecking. It's just all the
Yeah.
stuff that I feel like a good production is going to smooth out to make it a better player experience, and this one doesn't feel like it got there, quite.
Yeah.
So,
And that's such a bummer. I feel like this far into the hobby, like we shouldn't be having rule book
yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Right? Like that seems like a hurdle that we've crossed, and then you still come across games from time to time that are that. And it's just like I thought, we're better than that now, I thought.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. I feel like it's becoming less and less of an issue,
Yeah.
but there's still a handful of publishers sometimes that I feel like just don't quite nail it with the rule book.
Agreed. Well, even though that one maybe wasn't a perfect experience, overall, it sounds like we've played some pretty fun games this week, Chris.
Hmm.
If you're new to the hobby, though, and you don't know much about like board games, sometimes I think like talking about board games can be a little bit intimidating or overwhelming, right? Like any hobby, we have a distinct vocabulary, and sometimes people, who even are like, "Yeah, I'm a board gamer." They'll hear terms, we'll hear terms, they'll be like, "Wait, what does that mean exactly?" We might not exactly be sure. And so we're going to start a new segment today. We're calling it Board Games 101. Insert theme song. No, I don't have a theme song for it, but wouldn't it be great
Oh,
if I
come on.
did? So that would be.
Yeah, it'd be great.
So the idea for this segment came from my buddy Dylan, who's one of my friends since college, basically, and he sent us an email. Chris, do you have the email pulled up? Do you want to read that, or do you want me to read that? I can
Yeah,
read it.
no, I'll read it.
Great.
So he said, "Hey guys, really enjoying the show. Thank you for that. I had an idea for a potential topic. Since Joel introduced me to the hobby several years ago, I've absorbed general knowledge on a topic that I still feel is incomplete. And I bet many people could benefit from a discussion on it. Board game genres/categories. Some are very intuitive, such as trick taking, cooperative, auction style, but others are not, such as Euros, Ameritrash, 4X, etc. I think a really good feature could be for you guys to go through and to find the most common or popular categories. You could then each name your favorites and or maybe name the game that best exemplifies the genre. Anyway, just a thought, keep up the good work, Dylan." And I just want to say real quick, my personal thoughts were absolutely, because I remember on the Gamecasters podcast, which was the first board game podcast I had ever heard of. And I remember there was a season they were talking about a card game one time. And this is after I'd been in the hobby 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And they were talking about card shedding and ladder climbing. And I had no clue what that meant. And their description of the game kind of helped, but I still felt like I don't know what this means. And I feel like I should
Hmm.
at this point. And over time, I kind of deduced the meanings for myself. But I think that just shows like you could be in the hobby for several years and still have some of those terms come up that just aren't intuitive right off the bat for you.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a great topic, and I'm excited to dive into today and even potential future talks on different categories and things.
Yeah,
So.
I hope this is one we'll come back to some, because I agree. I think it's a great idea, and we, as we were kicking this around, I thought the place to begin maybe would be kind of where Dylan starts, which is like kind of the broad categories, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
games, we talk about them in a lot of different ways. And as I was kind of thinking through this, I kind of came up with this idea of, I guess I was thinking about the mafia or something, right? Like the five families, right? Like these are kind of the five, I think, maybe big umbrellas for games, and wanting to talk about them. But as we'll get into here, I think, Chris, like we don't define these terms the same way. Everybody who's going to think about a game is going to maybe define these
Mm-hmm.
terms a little bit differently, and even kind of place games differently in these categories. And so I wanted to just start with these kind of bigger picture terms to kind of figure out like what's maybe generally in people's minds when they use some of these terms. All right.
Okay.
So I broke these down into Euro games, Ameritrash games, war games, party games, and abstract games. And I don't know if you think I missed anything there or not. But do you think that's an okay place to begin with those kind of five big buckets, basically?
Yeah, I think most games will fit into at least one of those
Yeah.
categories. Spoiler alert.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so the way I approached this was I discovered, thanks to researching this, that BGG has a wiki feature, which I did not know about. I don't think it's
Okay.
widely used. I don't know how it feels like maybe these wiki pages have not been updated for a while when I looked at them, but I
Okay.
thought that would be a good place to go in terms of here's a way somebody has designed these. So what I thought we could do is kind of go over the 5 definitions a little bit, and then we're going to focus in on 2 of them today and talk about them in more detail. Okay, so
Okay.
the 5 again. Let's start with Euro games. This is what the wiki says about Euro games. Most Euro games, there were a bunch of bullets. I kind of narrowed it down to just a few bullets. Most Euro games share the following elements. Player conflict is indirect and usually involves competition over resources or points. There's very little randomness or luck. Randomness that is there can often be mitigated. Euro games have a definite theme. However, the theme most often has very little to do with the gameplay. The focus instead is on the mechanics. And Euro games typically have multiple viable paths to scoring points or securing the win condition. And I think that's a kind of a good
Mm-hmm.
place to begin. And I'll maybe we'll give some more thoughts later on. But I know, Chris, anything you would add to that definition?
Yeah, I would say historically, and I think we've seen a shift in the past 5 to 10 years away from this. But when you think about the classic Euro games from 20+ years ago, they're very bland,
Mhm.
right? Like you mentioned, they do have a theme, but it could be any theme. It doesn't really matter. Like you're not focused on the theme, you're focused on the mechanics because that was what mattered more to them. The art is very beige and boring, often not great technical art.
Right.
And usually there's not a huge focus on component quality. Not that they're poor quality components, but they're not like cool minis or acrylic or upgraded pieces. They're just, very basic wood cutouts and mostly cardboard,
Yep.
chipboard. And, the term DAE, if you're familiar with that acronym, stands for dry ass Euro. And that is commonly used to define this genre as just like dry, bland, not great art.
Yeah.
But again, that doesn't mean they're bad games. It's just the focus was more on the mechanics of the game than the other kind of extra bits and pieces.
Yeah, someone once mentioned to me, like, oh, if you look at the cover of a box and it's got like uh, a kind of a little bit perhaps crudely drawn white man in like medieval gear staring passively out from the box cover, you're looking at a Euro right
Usually
there, right?
usually in
Like,
a disappointed or angry
yeah.
manner. Yeah, absolutely. Because I can name about 10 of them off the top of my head that do that.
Not excited anger, just like, oh, this person, just stepped in crap a moment before someone took this
Yeah.
drawing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so that's the kind of broad Euro category, right? Or at least as it's been defined by some people. Ameritrash games. Now, this term itself is kind of a controversial one, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll maybe talk about that a little bit more when we get into some of our thoughts on these. But like, I think that where that comes from is Euro games were traditionally designed early on by like European designers, and Ameritrash games were designed by not necessarily designed by American designers, but were maybe focusing in a different way, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
term itself, some people find like really derogatory, right? Like to call something trash. I think rightly
Yeah.
so. You might be offended by that, right? So this is the
Which I've also heard people use
oh, I
Ameritrash,
like that. I like that.
which makes it a little less derogatory, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, one comment that I found as I was researching this little said like, well, it's trashy in the same way people will be like, "Oh, I read trashy novels when I'm on the beach during the summer," right? Like it's not literally
Okay.
trash, it's like a guilty pleasure. And I'm like,
We're
"Okay, but like, that's still
yeah.
insulting to this thing that you."
We're not saying Americans are trash. We're saying they like trashy
That's
things,
right. Okay.
which you can't argue too much with that these days, but that's another topic.
So The BGG wiki says Ameritrash is, quote, a catchphrase for American style board games. In general, this means games that emphasize a highly developed theme, characters, heroes, or factions with individually defined abilities, player to player direct conflict, and usually feature a moderate to high level of luck. All right. Anything
Mm-hmm.
you'd add to that one, Chris?
Yeah, and just the antithesis to what I mentioned with Euro games, the theme is usually a lot more developed and matters in the mechanics and gameplay. There's usually more of a focus on art and well produced and higher quality, higher, I can't think of the word. It's not necessarily higher quality, but like higher production value, I guess I'll say, when it comes to the components in the game. So that's where you get your minis and your, super fancy bits and upgraded pieces. And again, some of that has blended into Euro games as of the last, 5 to 10 years, as games have gotten more popular and people want that even in a Euro game.
Hey!
But
Spoiler alert! You're jumping ahead to our whole discussion here later. But yes, you're exactly right.
sorry. I'm just saying, like, I'm mentioning those things for both of these genres
Yeah,
in a historical, not a
yeah,
today
yeah, yeah.
mindset.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the thing that stands out to me, because I think you're exactly right, that, as we'll talk about, these things have blended, and over time, right? But like that player to player direct conflict, I think does still feel more American style versus Euro
Mm-hmm.
style. Is maybe I'm doing my own thing and we're trying to see who can do our own thing the best, right?
Right.
And things. So okay, so just for the sake of completion, I did want to just define these other three categories, partly just to say, like, these typically don't fall into these two categories, right? Of Euro
Right.
style and American style. So war games, a war game is going to be, again, this is from BGG, at one of three levels of warfare: tactical, operational, and strategic. Tactical games depict a skirmish, battle, or series of battles. Small scale units, maps that depict a battleground that's a few miles or less, sometimes much less in size. Operational war games cover a broader scope of actions, military actions greater than single battles. They can cover an entire smaller war or a series of operations or campaign within a greater war. And the strategic level is usually about a major war on a large scale, the core or the army level. And in war games, again, traditionally, you're either going to be using like cardboard counters or blocks with stickers or miniatures. There's like a war game thing is like, oh, I got these and I have to cut out the counters for the troops and things like that, right? Like that's the old school war game style, right?
Sure.
Abstract games are games that have perfect information with alternating turns and no randomness, usually,
Mm-hmm.
but not always, for two players. And it's also used to refer to a game without a theme, right? Regardless of the mechanics, that it's just
Sure.
abstract. We're using black and white wooden pieces, right? Or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. Okay.
Which again, that has also
Yeah,
changed a lot
absolutely.
in more modern days, but traditionally, yes.
And then party games are games that encourage social interaction, generally have easy setup, simple rules. They can accommodate large groups of people and play in a short amount of time. And they're really focused on, laughter, enjoyment, that social element more than necessarily
Yeah.
strategy or anything along those lines. Okay. So,
Wait, games are supposed to be social?
well, I mean, if you don't play solo games, then yes. So,
Oh, okay. Okay. Sure, sure. I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. So, Chris, like you said, this is really a Venn diagram, right? Like these are fluid categories now, and I think that's one of the things that throws people off when they hear these categories, because
Right.
even things like direct interaction and things like that. There are Euros that have direct interaction with other people, right? Where you can
Mm-hmm.
take points from
And it's
someone
not a
else,
euro.
right? Or things like I was thinking, Bomb Busters. I've been playing Bomb Busters a little bit lately with a couple different groups of friends. Is that an abstract game? Because there is a
Mm,
theme, but really it's just guessing numbers, right? Is that a
right.
party game? Is Azure? We've talked about Azure a couple episodes ago. That's an abstract game, but isn't it also a little bit of a Euro game where you're thinking about strategic moves and art matters more than just the
Sure.
black and white pieces, things like that?
But then there's also some direct conflict where you're blocking and,
taking
so
away points from the other person, right?
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Blood rage, right? This is managing your own hand of cards, right? You've got draft, that's drafting, that can be a traditional kind of Euro-y type thing, at least in my mind. But also
Yeah.
it's like fighting with Vikings against each other with cool minis on the table. So is that American style? Is that those sorts of things? Or SETI and Galactic Cruise, we've got all the trappings here of Euro games, but how thematic are both of those games, right? Like it,
So thematic, high production
high
value,
production.
totally.
Yeah, so you can't really say, I think anymore, that most games really just firmly sit in one category. But when someone says, "Oh, this is a Euro style game," I think you can go back to some of those things like, oh, so they're saying like it's not as maybe not as much direct play interaction. Maybe we're going to be competing for points or victory conditions or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas, oh, this is an American style game. Well, we're going to be going at each other a little bit more here, and we're going to have cool pieces to help us do that. Like generally, not only those things, but generally, I think that's maybe an okay way to think, with the understanding that yeah, I think most games today are really more hybrid than they're just one thing here. Okay.
Sure.
So let's just focus on Euro and thematic or Ameritrash or American or America Thrash, America Thrash,
America
Amerithrash,
Trash.
whatever you want to
Nailed it.
whatever you want to call it here, and just
Yeah.
try and break that down a little bit more. So I think I said this already. For me, like a Euro, the standout features are like limited luck, right? Uh, that's not to say there can't be dice or those sorts of things as well. I just talked about coming of age, which you roll dice to figure out where you can go for that, right? And there's a
Hmm.
little bit of mitigation, but you can't, it's hard to like totally mitigate that. There is competition, but there's usually a little less direct attack. So those are kind of what I think of most often. And when I tried to think of an iconic, like classic Euro, I thought of Agricola, right? Worker
Yeah.
placement. You're trying to build up your farm. You're trying to do, manage your resources in order to have the most productive kind of farm. Now, there's a theme there clearly, and I think the theme comes through pretty well in Agricola. But like, I think it fits in that Euro category pretty concretely for the most part.
Yeah.
How about you? What?
Absolutely. I didn't really put anything different down definition wise because I 100% agree, right? Very, very little luck. And what there is, you have the chance to mitigate. I think the only thing I'll add again is just they're usually ugly. And my iconic game is one of those grumpy looking white men looking in the distance, very bland beige. Theme is there, but who cares? And that is Hansa Teutonica.
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
And I've only played this game once, and I didn't like looking at it. I was like, I don't care anything about this. And that game was incredible. Like it's such a good game. And there's a reason they've done an updated version recently with a bigger box with some expansions included. Like I think it's still a fairly sought after game,
Yeah.
even though it's just hideous looking. And now the interesting thing is there is, I mean, you're not attacking each other, but there's definitely some like blocking and area fighting,
Yeah.
kind of beating each other to paths, but it doesn't feel like you're fighting, right?
Yeah.
It's more of who can get there first competition.
Yeah.
And so while depending on how you look at it, it could be, you know, direct player interaction, or it could just be, can I play the game more efficient than the other players at the table and get there first, you know? So it's kind of one of those that I even think, like, depending on the angle from which you're looking, you could define it a little differently, but it's definitely one that is very much an iconic Euro game.
Yeah, definitely. Great game too. I haven't played that in a
Mm-hmm.
while. I need to play it again. Any games that you thought of as like, well, these are some of your favorite games that you would say if you were trying to describe them to someone? Yeah, it's a Euro game. Anything come to
Yeah.
mind for you?
Too many to list, honestly. But the first one I thought of a few from Garfield Games because they're one of my favorite publishers, and I think they put out some amazing games. But I think my favorite of theirs, I'm going to say, is Scholars of the South
Mm,
Tigris, and it does have dice. It features a dice mechanic, but there's some mitigation there, and there's ways to change the value or change the color that you need in the moment. And so, you know, that's one of those that fits that definition. Telatum is another one as well, from Board and Dice, that it uses dice drafting, but it's got a mitigation element where you can change the position of the die that you're drafting if you spend some resources to make it a little bit different. And it's one of those, all the information at the beginning of the game,
Mhm.
and like, the goals, what you need to do. There is some flipping of tiles from a stack that could be a little luck dependent, but there's also ways to clear those drafting rows and bring out new tiles. So again, it creates the mitigation for what luck exists. And so I also thought of Barcelona. Speaking of Danny
Yeah, yeah.
Garcia, that's another one. Such a good game. And Terracotta Army is a really good one. And then Newton, which is another very bland, very ugly game, but the gameplay is just so good to me.
Yeah.
It's just, you want to move up a track? Which track do you want to move up? It's like, so those are some of mine that really stand out that I wanted to mention. So
Nice. That moving up tracks, that in my mind is a very Euro thing. Even though there's plenty of thematic games that are like you're moving up in strength or glory or whatever it is, like that, like,
right.
okay, one of my goals here is to move as far up this track as possible. Like very Euro in my mind, right?
Yeah.
That actually makes me think of one that I didn't put on this list when we made our show notes, but I'll mention here. Teotihuacan. I think that's a great
Oh yeah,
Euro game
absolutely.
where again there are dice, but you don't ever roll them, right? Like
Hmm.
they're signifying the strength of the worker as they move around in these locations. And again, moving up tracks is a big part of it, right? It's a
Yeah.
rondelle. There's another term we can define down the line, right? What's a rondelle? Moving around a board with different locations and trying to kind of strengthen your group. But again, highly thematic. One of my favorite
Yeah.
gaming memories of the past year is playing Teotihuacan with my buddy Manuel, who's from Mexico, and he was telling us all about kind of the mythology,
Oh,
Aztec
that's cool.
mythology, and things like that, and how it played into the game. It
Yeah.
was super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
another.
go ahead.
I was gonna say that's another series. You mentioned Teo, like insert T game
Yeah.
from Board and
Yep.
Dice, right? Like any of them fit. They're Euro at heart, but again, they all are really, really well produced. Typically, have really good art and very thematic,
Yeah,
right? Like they focus really heavy on bringing ancient cultures to life in meaningful ways through gameplay. And
for
so,
sure.
I could have listed more of the T games for sure because I really like them.
I thought of Arc Nova, Grand Austria Hotel,
Absolutely.
Great Western Trail. I know I think it's out of print right now, but I really like Shakespeare, not just because I'm an
Hmm.
English teacher, but I think it's a really interesting game where, you're playing cards to try to improve the stage and get characters out and all those sorts of things. But
Okay.
it falls pretty neatly into that Euro camp. The angry white man on the cover in this case is Shakespeare, but still. And I guess one of my favorite I think I would qualify this as a Euro is Obsession. Have you played
Yeah,
Obsession?
I've played it a couple of times. I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah. It to me is a super thematic game, right? Like
Hmm.
if you're a fan of like Pride and Prejudice or the literature of that era, then it's hard not to feel like that game is incredibly thematic. But you also can't really there's a few cards that you can mess with someone else and like damage their reputation, but mostly it's just building your own tableau, building up your own estate and trying to
Hmm.
recognize what the common goals are and how you can kind of increase your reputation and increase your score in that area. So I think it would fit there pretty well. But yeah, it's a great game. I really like that one a lot. For Ameritrash, thematic. I'm gonna go with thematic. I like the term thematic. And again, I know that's imperfect because we've just mentioned a bunch of Euro games that are thematic. But if somebody says, "Oh, it's a thematic game," I assume they're talking about there's something if that's the thing they choose to describe it as, right? Like I would assume they're
Yeah.
thinking a little bit more along a an emphasis on like story and narrative and like stand up
Hmm.
moments at the table, and those sorts of things. So an iconic one I thought of in this case, I don't know if you've played any Flying Frog games, but Fortune and Glory or Last Night on Earth. These are games that
Okay.
are very much about like telling a story. The gameplay is largely like luck based, dice rolling, things like that to try and get some success. And they're super fun, but I don't know that they are as rich as some of the more recent thematic games that to me are a lot more interesting. And
Mhm.
so I'll just kind of mention some of my favorites, and we can hear about some of your iconic
Sure.
and favorites there. I think Nemesis is a great thematic game, right? Like there's definitely some luck involved there. There's player elimination. You can get knocked out of that game, right? And things, but you also are like telling this very exciting, fun story about that's basically Alien, right? In a board game form. And I like that a lot. Cthulhu Death May Die is a cooperative thematic game where you are trying to destroy the elder gods and things like that. Thunder Road Vendetta, it's
Absolutely.
Mad Max, the board game, dice rolling, blowing other people's cars up, all that kind of stuff. Like very direct conflict in that game. And then even though this is a solo game and maybe is a little bit weird, Final Girl, I think, is a really thematic
Mhm.
game also that again comes down to a lot of dice rolling, and sometimes you can mitigate it and sometimes you can't. And but it's like leaning into that like horror movie genre
Mhm.
as much as any sort of mechanics. I think the mechanics in Final Girl and in all these games are really good. But it's also really wanting you to kind of feel that story as much as possible.
Yeah, Final Girl is one that I backed the first season because of the theme. I did not enjoy the gameplay.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, I just felt like I didn't have enough control over it,
Yeah,
right? And so I was shaking my head. I'm sure you saw me. It was like when you talked
I
about like
did,
very
yeah.
luck based, and I was just like, nope. Bad feels at the end of some of those games because it's just so luck based and you have it felt like no control over the outcome.
I
And so
listen, Chris, as my friend Dara likes to say, you just gotta get good.
yeah, get good. Get good, kid. Unfortunately, I was not, but I did get money back on it. So there we go. That was good.
Alright, how about you? What are some of your thematic or
Yeah.
Ameritrash
So
games?
I tend to think more high luck value when it comes to these types of games, along with theme, but more luck based than theme based.
Okay.
And not that my iconic game fits that necessarily, but I thought about Betrayal: A House on the Hill.
Yeah.
That is, it can be a really fun game. It can also be a very not fun game, depending on the scenario that you're given whenever the game shifts and you determine if there's going to be a traitor or if there's some crazy thing happening and you've got to fight aliens, like whatever it is, right?
Right.
And there's some wild scenarios, there's some story there if you want to get into it, but and there can be some luck based on, like, we played a game one time, I'll never forget that. um Whoever ended up being the traitor had just built their stats up so high throughout the beginning of the game that we didn't stand a chance and just wiped the floor with us, right? Like so quick. And sometimes that game feels great and it's fun and it's competitive when it gets to that point, but sometimes it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And and some of that just depends on, one of you could just be lucky to explore the right tiles in the house before the shift in the game happens and nobody else did, and or you could be in the right place at the right time. And it's just it's one of those that can be very swingy, and some of the scenarios are very imbalanced, most people say. And so it's, again, it's very dependent on which scenario you end up getting to your enjoyment level.
To me, I think this is one of the differentiators for me for people who really lean into thematic games more broadly is that to some people that randomness is like a bug, and to some people it's a feature, right? Like that
Mhm.
randomness gives you a unexpected experience every time, which means that the experience of the game is telling a different story not just the story of the haunt or whatever that the game is telling, but like the
Right.
experience of playing it feels different and fresh every time. And like to that for me, I think I don't know. I have no idea. Looking at your shelf, I have a feeling that maybe I lean a little bit more into thematic games than you do. Uh, and, uh, and
Probably.
I think, it I don't mind some luck in my games, right? Because I feel like that's life also.
Sure.
We have luck
Yeah,
all
yeah,
over the place,
absolutely.
and I think for some people, not you, Chris, but, like, for some people, like, they're like, "Oh, it's just luck dependent," and what that means is, like, I didn't feel like I had enough control. I wanted that control,
Yeah.
and I am, let it go, man. You can't control everything in life. You gotta go with the flow sometimes, you know?
But maybe that's my issue is I know I have no control over my life. I want to have control over my board game
You just gotta be
outcomes.
zen, ride the wave wherever it may take you. That's all.
Yeah. No, I think you are right. I probably lean a little bit more Euro heavy than I think you do, which can create some really fun discussions between the two of us. I do still enjoy, I love press your luck
Yeah, yeah.
games. And I would lean toward believing most of those are gonna be more Ameritrash style games. Now, one that I really enjoyed was Skate Summer from Pandasaurus. That was Push Your Luck, but it had a lot of strategic Euro elements as well. So that one kind of blurred the lines. But
Yeah.
one of my favorites, you think about Quacks of Quedlinburg, right? That game is, yes, you have some strategy over what you're putting in your bag and you're trying to get good chips that synergize, but you could draw 4 white chips and bust before you draw a colored one,
Right.
right? And so, like, you have very little control really over how well you draw from your bag.
Right.
And another one that I think blends the lines a little bit more, Wonderland's War. Now, it's area majority, you're fighting each other, but the card drafting is very strategic. And I don't know, have you played Wonderland's War?
Yeah, yeah, it's great. I
Okay.
really like it.
So there's a lot of strategic elements you have control over, but where you're going to score your points in the game comes down to how well you randomly draw your chips out of a bag.
Mhm.
And if you can survive long enough in the battle or get to the right spot on the track, the strength track, to where you can accomplish a goal or forge some chips and, increase your standing in the game. But probably, my favorite really thematic luck-based game is going to be Dice Throne.
Yeah.
Sure, there's some strategic card play there, but really when it comes down to it, you're just chucking dice and trying to be the last person standing.
Yeah.
And Dice Stone Adventures, I think, piggybacks off of that. And I think there's an interesting text discussion. I don't know that it was really a discussion. I kind of mentioned an idea and you gave me a response to it that really was helpful to think through. I think games like Dice Stone Adventures, kind of similar to Gloomhaven, Tidal Blades 2, those kinds of like dungeon crawl type games that are very luck based when it comes to the battle and fighting and surviving, also have highly strategic moments in how you plan out and how you build your decks or how you play your cards in Gloomhaven and Tidal Blades 2. And so I think those are games that I really enjoy that are probably similar to some of the ones that you mentioned that are more thematic, are more luck based, but at the end you don't have control, but you've got control over your potential.
Mm-hmm.
I think is what's really interesting, right? Like you mentioned Gloomhaven, there's so much strategy in the card play, but when it comes down to it, you could play an amazing card play and draw your miss
Right.
when it comes to the fight. And, those moments are so frustrating, but also what make those games so fun.
Yeah.
And challenging and enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think that's what I think when, we talked about when we were kicking around this discussion about how this sometimes feels like a discussion that devolves into circles, right? And people just saying kind of what they like best in a game is somehow superior. And that's the one thing I don't like, right? I love thematic games. I love Euro games, right? And the only thing that bothers me is not what someone's preference is in those fields, but when they kind of denigrate the other, right? So I think
Yes.
that's why when I hear people say things like, "Oh, that's just luck-based game," I'm like, well, one, it's probably not. There's probably more decisions than you're giving it credit for, and number two, who cares if somebody's having fun playing that and that's the way they want to spend their time? Like, so what? It doesn't make that less valuable, right, than somebody who wants to like burn their brain over a spreadsheet style game, right? That's like,
Right. Absolutely.
I literally need a calculator to complete this game, right? Or whatever the case may be. So,
Well, and I think that's what's funny. When we talked to Matt last week, he's like, he didn't say it verbatim like this, but he doesn't enjoy multiplayer solitaire games.
right.
Freaking give me a player board and give me my own goals and we'll chit chat in between turns, but I'm doing my thing and you're doing your thing. And we're going to see who does it best. Right.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I don't tend to love highly interactive games.
Yeah.
You mentioned party games. I'm not usually a big party game fan. I love my games to be social, but I don't want the gameplay to just be social.
Yeah.
Right. Like I want the gameplay to be meaty and good. and I want to have a good time around the table with you. And so I just, but yeah, you mentioned it just for the sake of transparency and honesty. When we were talking about doing this topic, I wasn't really excited about it. Because of some of the conversations I've seen online and how just vitriolic,
Yeah.
I guess, and lack of understanding and just no grace for people
Yeah.
that there tends to be in discussions like this, and why.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you enjoy Nemesis and Cthulhu Death May Die, and that's great, because why would you play a game that you don't like?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a hobby. Hobbies are supposed to be fun and enjoyable. And if someone enjoys multiplayer solitaire, be like, yeah, that's not really for me, but good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I haven't found one I like yet. What are your favorite games in that genre?
Oh, great
right?
question.
Like, why can't that be the conversation? Why is it, no, it's too luck based, or no, that art is too ugly. It's just beige and bland. And, that to me is the issue. And that was why I really didn't want to do the topic, because that's how the conversations tend to go. But I told Joel, I trust your direction and decision making on this, and I think we can have a good discussion.
Have I brought you through successfully here? Are we doing okay?
I think we're doing okay, Joel.
All right, good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, to me, the point of defining these terms is not to say, like, these games are better than those games, right? Or this is the type of game that we think is the superior form, right? It's just to say,
but we know what is superior. Let's be real here.
Do we know?
I'm kidding. I had to see I wanted to see your reaction, and you didn't disappoint me.
Yeah, it's just to say, like, when people are using those terms, kind of understanding what they mean by that, right? And understanding that some people may, like, denigrate one of these. Like, I think most frequently it's American style games that get, like, people talk about them as those aren't real games and things like that. But, like,
yeah,
they are real games, and those people can shove it, and that's fine. Just enjoy what you like, figure out what you like, and play those things, right? And sometimes, like you said, dip your toe into other style games and see what other people might be enjoying about those. If it's not for you, no problem. And if you're like, hey, this was fun, I didn't realize this, you've just discovered a whole new side of the hobby, and that's exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Along those lines, I was listening to a podcast recently. I want to shout out Meeple to Meeple and my buddy PJ, the Cajun Gamer, on Instagram. And he had somebody on, and in the middle of the conversation, they mentioned that we should be gate openers, not gatekeepers. And that has stuck with, I think it was like 2.5, 3 weeks ago that I heard that. And I was like, man, that's such a good phrase, because for the large majority of my experience in this hobby, it has been so welcoming and so friendly. And so I've opened the gate, come be a part of this. But there's also moments where it's very gatekeepy, and we shouldn't be that way. Again, hobbies are meant to be fun and be a break from the monotony and the freaking depressing punch you in the face constantly that the real world can be. And if we're making it all about arguments and I'm right, you're wrong, like, where's the fun in that?
Right.
And so just that idea of, we as ambassadors of this hobby should be gate openers and not gatekeepers. And that is something that, like, I've kind of made a goal of mine without hearing that phrase. Right. And so that's just really stood out to me. And I think this is one of those conversations. You said it, like, who cares? Right? Like, if you like Euro games, play Euro games. If you like war games, play war games. If you don't, play what you like and have fun with it. But we can be a community still with varied interests in this big, huge hobby that we exist in.
Well, I wish I had a little anthem to play behind you while you gave that little speech there. Right.
Sorry.
It was stirring. I'm excited. Gate opener. It's a good philosophy. I like that.
There's our next shirt idea.
There you go. Oak and onion, gate openers, right?
Which, was one of our goals of the podcast, is to build community with people that we may not be connected to through the podcast and through social media. And I want it to feel like that. Like, I don't ever want our conversations and our opinions to shut people out and feel like they don't belong in the hobby. But, that's one of my goals of the podcast. I want people to feel like they have a seat at the table, no matter their preferences in the hobby, no matter their level of knowledge. You could have just found out about board games tomorrow. You have a seat at my table, right? You may like super heavy thematic, crazy fighty games that aren't my speed. But if you bring one over and are excited about it, I'm going to play it with you and we're going to have fun together.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to be about in this hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it.
Well, Joel, I think we've already kind of driven this point to the ground, but it's true that there are a lot of differing opinions on the value of some terms in the board game hobby. And I think it's cool that you and I even disagree and differ on some of those terms and their value. But the one thing we can all agree on is the value of the games themselves. And speaking of games, Joel, I have a game ready for you, and I want to know, do you think you can pass the test?
I have absolutely no confidence that I'll be able to pass whatever test you have prepared for me, but I shall endeavor to do my best, Chris.
All righty. Now, before we dive into this new game that I have for you that I have called Pass the Test, if you missed that, is as a teacher yourself, I'm curious, what do you consider a passing versus a failing grade? Because my kid's school is different than mine was when I was a child. So to determine whether you can pass or not, where is that line for you as a teacher?
Well, that's a tough question. So I work in an independent school, right? So if you ask my students, then anything under an A- is not a passing grade. They get very upset about things lower than that. But they get things lower than that, and so I just want them to be like, you're gonna be fine. Technically, anything above an F is passing. A D-, you have still passed the class, right? So
Gotcha.
maybe if that's the board, if that's the bar, at least I can hopefully pass.
Okay.
A D- or better is what I'm aiming for.
I'll have a little more grace than my children's teachers do, because a D at their school is considered putting you on the ineligible/failing list, which is bonkers to me.
Interesting.
Don't ask how we found that out, but okay. So in this game,
we have to send out academic concerns if anyone has a C- or lower. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have 5 games that you are going to try to guess.
Okay.
I've got 5 clues for each of those games that start very broad and narrow in focus, but the longer it takes you to guess them, the fewer points you get.
Okay.
So I've mathed this out to where you have 100 possible points available.
Oh, no.
If you correctly guess the game, you get 5 points. If you guess it on the first clue, you get a bonus 15.
Okay.
So at most, each game you could score 20 points. And then if you get it on the second clue, it's 8, then 4, then 2. If you get it on the last clue, you get 0 bonus points, but you get the 5 points for a correct guess.
And there are 5?
There are 5 games.
So I'm hoping for a 25 is what I'm looking at. Can I identify all of these games? All right. One final question here before we start the game. Can I guess at every stage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm not knocked out.
I'll give you one clue and you can say, I'm going to make a guess or no.
Okay. And these are all games you think I will know.
I will give you this hint that every one of these games is in your collection.
Oh, no.
As of whenever we were supposed to do this the first time, but didn't fit it time-wise. And I asked you, hey, is your collection accurate on BGG? And you said yes. And
you know that doesn't mean I have played all the games that are on my collection.
But according to your BGG collection, you have played each of these games more than one time.
Okay. That
so
I have hope.
I didn't want to make it too hard.
Yes.
Because even though I win if you fail, I don't want you to fail.
Do you win if I fail? Listen, that is not the attitude you can have as a teacher. I win if you fail.
Well, but if we're doing a game for the other player, I feel like, I don't know. I'm just teasing. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Locked in.
Game number 1. Clue 1 for 15 bonus points. Animals.
Habitats.
Incorrect. Clue number 2 for 8 bonus points. Variable setup.
Ooh, variable setup with animals. Trying to think through my collection here real quick, which is, as we know, far too large for any one man. It's not Ark Nova, but that's right now the only thing I can think of. So I'm going to say Ark Nova.
That is incorrect. All right.
Yeah.
The third clue for 4 points. Sparkly cubes.
Ooh, sparkly cubes and animals. This is a bad start to this game. Sparkly
I tried to give you a softball for the first one too, but
yeah, that doesn't bode well for the future, does it? To be fair, it is almost 11 o'clock at night.
Oh dang,
right
yeah,
now,
that's
so
fair.
My brain is not at its best. Sparkly cubes and animals with variable setup. Oh, no, I don't think I have that in my collection anymore. I'm going to pass on this one. I need one more clue.
Okay, for 2 bonus points, Amelia taught Caitlin and I this game at Gen Con last year.
It's not Oh My Pigeons, is it?
No.
Oh. Taught you at Gen Con. Citizens of the Spark.
You got it.
Oh, okay. Sparkly cubes. I didn't. Okay. Yes. Good.
All right.
Fair. All fair question. All fair clues.
All right. So Joel,
I got 5 points.
You got 7 points because you got it on the 4th clue. So you got 5 for guessing it and bonus 2. Now the final.
I think you gave me a bonus guess there, just so you know. I think
well,
I guessed twice.
Whatever. It's fine.
But as a good teacher, you win when I win.
Yeah,
That's really
sure.
what the teacher had to do. All right, go ahead.
The final clue was going to just be the publisher name.
Okay.
All right. Game number 2.
I got to do better.
For 15 bonus points. Black.
I'm I get in my head too much. Eschaton.
No.
Okay.
Clue number 2 for bonus 8 points. Colorful pieces.
Black but colorful pieces. Black but colorful pieces. Don't mind me. I'm just gonna turn real quick. Look around.
If you're not watching the video, Joel just turned around to look at his shelf.
This is only part of the collection in here, though, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Eclipse?
No.
Okay.
All right. Clue number 3 for 4 bonus points. Polyomino.
Colorful pieces. Project L.
You got it.
Okay.
All right. 9 points for game number 2. So far,
I am not even close.
You are currently at 16 out of 40 possible points.
That is failing. I'm below 50%.
All right. I believe in you. I think you're going to get better.
I like your belief. Your sliding scale here, exponential scale of 15 to 8 is really working against me here.
I had to do a lot of math to make that sliding scale work out well and feel exponentially decreasing as it took you longer to guess. All right. Game number 3 for 15 bonus points. Rome. And that is Rome as in Rome.
Yeah, I do have a number of Rome adjacent games, so that alone doesn't necessarily narrow it down. I will. Okay, what have I played multiple times though? That's the question. Let's see. I don't think I have. Oh, do I have multiple plays of Nova Roma? Or Ostia? Oh, how about Carpe Diem?
That is incorrect.
I thought maybe I had it.
The second clue for 8 bonus points, worker placement.
Nova Roma? I'm gonna go with Nova Roma.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
Third clue for bonus 4 points, Tech Tracks.
Oh, this feels like it should narrow it down for me. but at the moment, it is not. Tech Tracks. Ostia is the other one that's coming to mind, but Ostia does not have Tech Tracks like that. What games do have Tech Tracks that are Roman themed? I ask because I'm trying to fill the silence while nothing is in my brain that could possibly be a Roman themed Tech Track game. Let's say, well, it's the only one I have in my brain that I haven't said yet, so Ostia.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, I knew it was incorrect, and yet
All
this
right.
is shameful.
I'm sad. All right.
Just what a guy likes to hear when he's struggling for his life over here.
Sad for you. Okay. The fourth clue for a bonus 2 points: build your defenses.
Build your defenses. Hadrian's Wall.
That is correct.
Yeah.
There's another 7 points for you.
This is not improving my. I'm doing my best
You're
here,
doing
man.
your best. Okay. You're doing great. You could be doing worse. You have successfully guessed all of the games to this point.
That's right. This is going to make me much more empathetic to my students. By the way, I do not have a chance at getting above a D at this point because there are only 40 possible points left, and I only have, I believe, if I remember correctly, something like 20 at this point.
You currently have 23.
23. Okay. So I have to get both of the next two on the first clue.
Game number 4, clue 1, space.
Oh, come on, Chris. You gotta give me something if you want me to have a shot at getting these. Space?
Hey.
Space is the clue?
Broad to narrow.
Here's the first clue. It's in the universe. Star Trek Captain's Chair.
I'm going to let you guess again because I hadn't heard of that game until we did the BGG Awards episode, and I had put this together before that episode. I'm going to give you an extra chance on this one.
I will stick with our Star Wars theme and say Star Wars, the deck building game.
That is incorrect. Clue number 2, multi-use cards.
Again, Star Trek Captain's Chair. Multi-use cards. What space game has multi-use cards? I feel like a lot of space games have multi-use cards. Let's see. Does Outer Rim have... I'm stuck in a Star Wars place after our conversation last week. Does Outer Rim have multi-use cards?
I'll give you a lifeline here. It is not a Star Wars game.
Well, that's at least that keeps me from going down a bad track.
I didn't want you to be stuck on that, so I'll give you that lifeline there.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what games are in the other room, because those are a lot of the games we play. Some of the games we play more frequently. I don't know. Is it silly to go back to Eclipse again? Have I played Eclipse multiple times? Twinkle Twinkle I've played. No, that doesn't have cards at all. What am I talking about? It's a tile laying game.
Great game though.
Yeah, for sure. I will go with... Ooh. Nope. I thought I had an idea. I did not have an idea. I'm going to go back to Eclipse again, which I know does not have multi-use cards. Oh, Vindication. No, that's not a space thing game. Eclipse. It's not Eclipse.
Final answer?
Keep going. Yes.
That is incorrect.
I know!
The third clue, you're going to hate me again. Variable setup.
Oh, gosh. Would this work for... No, it's not really a... Terraforming Mars isn't really a variable setup, right?
No, I wouldn't consider it. Well, depends on how much content you have for it. I guess it could be, but...
No, yeah, I don't think I would consider that. Let's see. What's the... It's not Race for the Galaxy. What's the board game version of that? New Frontiers?
Hmm.
New Frontiers.
No. Sigh.
This is so sad.
Clue number 4, satellites.
Oh, something sprang to mind here, and then it left immediately.
Oh, come
satellites. It's not Artemis Project. It's not Cryo. It's not satellites I feel like should be a gimme, because that's not a thing in every game. Not Tapestry. That doesn't have variable use cards. So there are satellites. Well, there's space exploration tiles. Anyway, just talking to myself because I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue here. I don't know, Chris. I don't know.
Okay.
Give me the last clue.
Clue number 5, late night at TantrumCon 2025.
What did we play?
We talked about this so many times.
Oh, it's SETI.
Yes, you got it.
Son of a... That wasn't even on my radar in my brain, because I was thinking set in space, which I guess SETI is, but it's also like the... Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, man. I thought satellites, when you were like, this should be a give me. I was like, yes.
Wasn't even in my brain.
Oh, well, the good news is you still got some points for that one.
Yeah, that is sure good news.
And I learned maybe make it a little easier if we do this again.
If you had gone like 5 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, I would be feeling much better about myself right now.
Well, we can tweak this in the future. All right. Are you ready for the 5th and final game?
No, we're not, but go ahead.
For 15 bonus points, hexes.
Such a helpful clue. I mean, that really narrows it down for me. Yeah, very few games have hexes, so thanks for that.
I will say my goal for this was for you to not get the 15-point bonus. I didn't expect
success. Vindication.
No. Number 2, exploration.
Yep, that's a thing you do with hexes sometimes. That's for sure. Tapestry.
You got it.
Hey!
You got
End on a high note, at
8
least.
bonus points. The final clue I had there was tracks, grid coverage, and civ building. Just so you know where I was going with that. All right, let's see. Let's tally up your score if you want to.
All right, I would like to know if we had done 5 bonus points, 4 bonus 3. I would like to know that score also, because that would make me feel better about myself.
I'll have to calculate that when we're not in the middle of recording. I'll take a minute.
All right, tell me the actual score then. What did I actually get here?
You got 41.
I know my collection 41%. That is failing.
Now,
we have to get a new co-host. I need to go back to school.
That was a lot of fun to put together and do with you. It wasn't fun watching you struggle so hard. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna remember this for the next game. Believe me, I will be looking for some payback down the line.
So I want to say something, but I don't want it to come across mean. So I'm trying to figure out how to say it to not, punch you while you're down.
Listen, I'll say this as a teacher, right? When the performance on the test is that bad, you gotta wonder if the test was actually well put together.
Well,
maybe there's some self-reflection for you, Chris. That's all. I want to invite you. That's all.
As a teacher, do you ever have higher hopes and expectations for your students that they deliver? Because I struggled and I was like, I want to make it tough, but not too
Listen,
tough, but I can't make it too easy. And I
just flip it around for a second. And if I said, think of a board game, Chris, your clue is hexes, tell me what game you would think of for that one.
Well, but that was the point. The first clue was supposed to be almost impossible to get, but maybe it was a little too impossible. So listen.
Well, listen. Yeah, listen. You listen here. My poor performance this week is going to be a low light of my week. So thanks very much for that, Chris.
Sorry.
I really appreciate it. But we do have some highlights out there that we can keep in mind. It's time to talk about crowdfunding campaigns, board game news, hobby adjacent stories on our minds. Let's get to the highlight reel. We can put that shameful performance behind us. Focus on a brighter tomorrow.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No, it was good. It was good. You don't need to apologize. I should be the one apologizing to you.
Listen, I'm not disappointed in you. Co-host.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I didn't say that. Don't put words in my
mouth. What's on your radar, Chris, in terms of the highlight reel this week?
So one thing I'm looking at that I think is super cool is Backer Kit right now has what they have called Pocketopia. And they have 50 different pocket-sized games from a list of different publishers and designers. And it runs through May 28th. They've got 4 or 5 different like broad categories that have several games underneath them. And they're doing a cool thing where if you back so many in a category, you get like a free promo bonus, something for each of the games you back in that category. So they're trying to get you to back multiple games and give you benefits and stuff. But there's a lot of really cool looking games. I just want to shout a few out that I'm aware of. I unfortunately didn't have time to go through all 50 of them this week before we recorded. But Headliner from Chris Couch looks really cool. It's a card game that's like classic rock hair metal themed where you're trying to create your band through card play, and the cards themselves are super punny and hilarious, and that one looks really cool. And then there's a couple of local Oklahoma publishers that we featured on our bonus episode covering TokenCon back in March. And Absurdist Productions has 2 games, Cell Block 18 and Riposte, which is kind of, Riposte is a 2-player kind of fencing themed game where you're making moves back and forth that follow technical fencing terms that I don't really know and understand because I've never done fencing. But both those games look pretty interesting. Check out Absurdist Productions on social media. They posted like a quick playthrough overview of Riposte a day or 2 ago. So if you're interested in that, and Cell Block 18 looks interesting. And then Barron's Game Room has The Cure, which if you watched our interview with him on our YouTube channel, he kind of gave an overview for the game. It's a hidden role potential social deduction type game that plays at 4 players, which is interesting. It's a lower player count, but it looked pretty interesting. But there's a ton more on there. Like there's a game called Press. It's about like pressing flowers. There's a ramen themed game that looks really interesting. So there's like solo games. There's small and thinky. So like really small games, but still strategic in the package. And then, there's all sorts of levels and interest of games geared towards families. So if you like your small box pocket, easy to travel with games, there's going to be something on this list for you. I mean, there's 50 of them. That's insane to me. And most of them aren't close to even funding yet. So if you like supporting smaller publishers and checking out some small games, go check out Backer Kit and their Pocketopia going on through May 28th.
Nice. That sounds interesting. Good designers there for sure.
Yeah.
I have my eye right now on one that just started, which is Beast Ashfall from Studio Midhall. Have you played Beast ever?
I haven't, but the box art is so cool looking.
Yeah, the game is really gorgeous looking. And I have not played it either, but I've heard really good things about it. I know on the Secret Cabal podcast, they've been talking about it quite a bit and are big fans of it. And this is for a big box, and I think what's supposed to be the final expansion
Okay.
for the game, but you can get everything. And it's a one versus many hidden movement game that has a bunch of different types of beasts, which apparently change up kind of how the game plays and what the goals are and things. So it sounds like there's a fair amount of variability in even just the base box. And then I think at this point they have like 3 different expansions for it. So it's definitely one that is I'm intrigued in and am going to look at some more. The problem I think is sometimes when you jump on something late in its cycle, then to get all the content is very expensive, and I don't know if I want to drop that kind of cash or just wait and try it out. Buy a or trade for a copy that someone's got and just pick up the other stuff later. But it looks really beautiful, and there's some cool upgrades if you want to go that route. So I'm gonna definitely spend some time thinking about that. It may be one that I end up backing, but I'm not sure yet. It's gonna be running on GameFound until June 3rd.
Nice. Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that with a similar Reavers of Midgard from Gray Fox Games has an expansion and kind of a deluxe edition all in, as well as you could just get an upgrade kit. There's several different options you can get, but this is one that I as well haven't played, but I've played Champions of Midgard. I've heard really good things about Reavers. It's on my list of games that I want to play. Hopefully I'll get to play it when Kyle comes to visit next weekend. He'll bring it up and we'll play it finally. But he and I were looking at it and talking about it today. And if you've had any interest in Reavers, the cost for what you get if you get kind of the all-in box is insanely low, right? The cost is I don't it is around, I don't want to get it wrong, but it is way less than what you would think it would be. And if that's a game you want to get upgraded, or if that's a game you've played and wanted to get, check it out on Kickstarter through May 28th. It's got a great price tag for what they're offering. So
Nice. Well, this the next one, I'm not sure if it does have a great price tag. It's one I'm interested in because I really enjoy Terraforming Mars, and they have announced this standalone game, Legacy of Mars. Uh, but I have mixed feelings about what I'm seeing here. This is it's not a legacy game, first of all, so weird title choice.
yeah,
That has a real distinct meaning in the hobby, and
confusing
they're
for
making
sure.
they're making a big point of you don't destroy anything, it's fully resettable, all that kind of stuff. But it is interesting, it's a series of games where instead of just, settling Mars 4 different times, the first one is settling Mars, and you're going out to Ganymede, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of the moons of Jupiter for the second game. Then the third and fourth games are beyond that. And I think each game is going to bring in a new set of like objectives and cards and some scenario specific adjustments and limitations and those sorts of things, which all is really interesting. And again, as a big Terraforming Mars fan, I was really excited about this. It's $109 for the base game, which is not the complete campaign. There are 3 more scenarios that are going to come out later in the year, so that's pretty
Hmm.
expensive. If, like me, you have invested in the big box for Terraforming Mars and you have those awesome plastic minis, those don't exactly work for this because there are different plastic minis and different tiles that you need, and so to get the plastic version, that's $250 about. And there's AI in the cards. I don't know if I know that's actually a concern for you, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
but they have made no bones that they do use AI to generate some of the art, but that everything is then, worked on by a human artist after that. And so your mileage may vary on what you think about that. I'm not totally sure where I'm going to fall right now on that as a practice, but it certainly is one more thing that I think is going to keep me away probably from this campaign. I really do love Terraforming Mars, and
Yeah.
so that's a bit of a challenge, but I'm not sure if I'm seeing the value in this particular box, especially knowing it'll probably be cheaper in retail down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. They say like retail is going to be 150, but once you add in shipping and all that stuff, I just don't know if it's going to
Yeah.
be worth it.
And
So
somebody's going to buy it, and in 2 years they're going to sell it for way less.
exactly, yeah. So I think I was really excited about that one, but I'm not totally loving what I'm seeing here. So I think that may be a pass. But if it's not for you, if that's something you're excited about, that is going to be going until May 29th.
I I'm sad because I also love Terraforming Mars, but I've just kind of distanced myself from wanting or needing to buy anything new because of some of the stances the company has taken, the AI art being one of them. Now, Terraforming Mars never had great art, but just going all in on the AI and stuff. I've got a lot of thoughts about it. We don't have time to get into it, but unfortunately, like I haven't even let myself look at the campaign because I'm not. I saw some comments in a thread about it, and I was like, that tells me everything I need to know that I don't want or need to back that. So
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll just mention two more real quick. Leviathan Wilds, I haven't played, but I've seen a ton of people talking about it. You see a lot about it on social media. It's got an expansion and a reprint of the base game that is on Kickstarter till June 2nd. It looks like a cool game. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know it's been really popular. And the other one that I found today that is super cool that I will probably throw a little bit of money at is Cranio Creations has some licensed inserts from a company called eRaptor that are up on Kickstarter right now. It's got inserts for Newton, Gollum, Ants, Rats of Wister, Lorenzo Il Magnifico, Beyond the Horizon, and Barrage. And so my only concern there is the way pricing and pledge tiers are listed is kind of weird. You can get one individually or you can get like all of them together. And so I'm assuming you just have to pick what you want and then add it together and put a custom amount in. I'm not sure. I need to do some more research on that, but they look really good. They're thematic, fully arted, really cool trays. And so if you have any of those games, you know how many baggies those boxes have in them and how much a good insert would aid in setup and put away time. So check that out on Kickstarter.
Nice. I've only played one of those games. Do you want to guess which one?
Lorenzo.
Oh,
No.
looks like I'm not the only one who failed today. So.
Got him. Oh man.
Beyond the Horizon is the only one of
Okay.
those I've played,
Yeah,
and
nice.
it's good, but it's not in my collection
Yeah.
anymore. So, I wanted to mention one more, Pack and Paddle by Kids Table Board Games, KTBG, that is on Kickstarter until May 28th. I got to look at a prototype copy of this and played it, and I really enjoyed it. It's a pretty light game. I may have talked about it on the podcast before already. I can't remember.
No, I think
It's
we talked about it because you posted about it on social media. I don't think we
gotcha.
talked about it on here yet.
It's when I say light, I mean like it's a family friendly game, right? Like it's not so complex that you couldn't play it with kids, but as you know, just Amelia and I playing it, we still really enjoyed it. It's a really sweet, kind of cute summer camp theme where you are doing different things each day. You're uh, kind of bidding for priority in what tile you're going to take and what activities you're going to do. And you do things like sightseeing for animals or going on a canoe trip, and you're building a little tableau of tiles of various colors. And it's one of those games where basically everything is going to get you some points, and so it's just trying to maximize the possibility of getting points, whether that's from firewood and like personal scoring goals, or seeing those animal tiles, or winning the canoe race, or whatever else. There are a few other things in it as well, but very cute, very if you've played any KTBG games, they have an sweet production, like not overly, artsy and beautiful, but like nice, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely something that is fun to play on the table. There's a nice little Kickstarter bonus to this one that is this animal sightseeing is thematically, it's going on a hike, and it's got a little ramp that the animal tiles sit on, and so when you take one off the ramp, they slide down, and you put another one at the top, like you're kind of going up the hill, and you see an animal and stuff. It's very cute. I liked it a lot, and I think if that sounds like something that's your style, definitely worth checking out for sure. So that's Pack and Paddle, and it's on Kickstarter till May 28th. And I did wanna bring up one more piece of news that I just learned about today, Chris,
Okay.
not long before we started recording, and that is that Osprey Games has just
Mm,
announced that they are getting out of the board game business, that
yeah.
they are, going to close down that division and focus only on, role-playing games and war games, and by war games, they don't mean Undaunted, which is one of their, best rated and most well-known publications. They mean, like, wargaming books
Hmm.
and things, and so, I'm sure many of those games are going to find new homes. You know, there's really great games in the Osprey Games library: the Imperium games, the Undaunted games, Cryptid, The King is Dead. You know, Brian Boru, Merv. There's a ton. I mean, I
Yeah.
could keep reading this list for a while, but you know, I know the industry is always a tightly budgeted, right? This is not a huge money-making industry
Yeah.
yet, and so maybe this is a sign of a shift in the hobby, but certainly a bummer because I've always really enjoyed their productions. I thought they were really nice at a fairly affordable price,
Hmm.
and so I hope those games and those designers all find good homes. So
Well, those all sound interesting, and who knows? Maybe next year, some of these games that are on crowdfunding right now might be up for some awards or win some awards. Speaking of which, if you listened to our bonus episode a few weeks ago, you heard our picks for the Golden Geek Awards. Well, the winners have recently been announced, and we wanted to follow up to find out who won our face off. Joel came up with a scoring system for this one, and I'm going to let him explain what he did and how he scored it.
So if you remember when we talked about this, we each picked like our preference, what we hoped would win, but also we picked what we thought would win. And so I prioritized what we thought would win. If what you thought would win, you got 2 points. And if either what you thought would win or what you picked as your personal pick was listed as a winner or an honorable mention, you get 1 point. So that's more complicated than it needs to be. It doesn't really matter. We'll get into that as we go. But let's start with two-player game. The winner was Toy Battle with runners up Star Trek, Captain's Chair, and Tag Team. And Chris, you picked Toy Battle for that one. I got a couple points. You got a few points. All right.
All right, so for light game of the year, the winner was Hot Streak with Magical Athlete and Toy Battle being the runners up. And we both thought Hot Streak would win, and we both picked Fliptoons to win. So we tied on that category.
For medium game of the year, Fate of the Fellowship was the winner with Moon Colony, Bloodbath, and Vantage coming up. I did pick Fate of the Fellowship as the winner. Chris thought Vantage was going to be the winner. And I also picked Moon Colony Bloodbath as one I wanted to win. So I got 3 and Chris got 1 for that one.
For heavy game of the year, the winner was Galactic Cruise with Speakeasy and Luthier as runners up. Both of us thought Galactic Cruise would win, and I wanted Galactic Cruise to win. So I maxed out that category. Joel got, actually, we tied on it because we both picked, our personal picks were both on that list there. So
For best artwork and presentation, Old King's Crown was the winner with Galactic Cruise and Fate of the Fellowship as runners up. I did pick Old King's Crown as the winner, and Chris picked. Oh, I think actually I didn't give you enough points there, Chris,
oh,
because it appeared twice. So
yeah.
Chris wanted and picked Galactic Cruise, so he should have 2 points for that one.
So
We
we
both got 2 points.
tied again.
Yeah.
We're pretty spot on points wise here, even though we made some very different picks, which is very interesting. So
Yeah, we were pretty close, except for this next one. This was the differentiator.
the best co-op game, the winner was Fate of the Fellowship with Vantage and Eternal Decks being the runner up. And I successfully predicted that Fate of the Fellowship would win, even though I didn't put a personal pick in because I hadn't played any of them, but I predicted Fate of the Fellowship to win. And Joel unfortunately incorrectly guessed Take Time for both his personal pick and his predicted winner.
If I had played Fate of the Fellowship before that, it would have made one of those, I think. It is
Yeah,
pretty great. I'm gonna play it again this weekend, and I'm happy with that, even though I got no points for that category. So
that's fair.
for best party game, Hot Streak was the winner with Magical Athlete and Take Time taking the honorable mentions. Magical Athlete was my pick, and Hot Streak was my want to pick, so I got 2 points. Chris correctly predicted Hot Streak would win, and so he also got 2 points.
So for best thematic game, we had Fate of the Fellowship 1 with Galactic Cruise and Vantage being runners up. We both successfully predicted that Fate of the Fellowship would win. However, I also personally picked Galactic Cruise, which gave me a 1-point win on that category.
For most innovative, the winner was Vantage with Moon Colony, Bloodbath, and Hot Streak coming in second. We both picked Hot Streak as what we thought would win, so we each got a point for that. And Chris correctly identified it, Vantage, as another one he wanted to win, so he got a bonus point on that one. So 2 points for him and only 1 for me.
And finally, best expansion, SETI Space Agencies won it, with runners-up being Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune Imperium Bloodlines. Joel successfully predicted that SETI Space Agencies would win, giving him 2 points, and I predicted one of the runners-up as Dune Imperium Bloodlines, so I got a point for that. Which, Joel, what does that give us for the final tally on your point scale?
Well, we're continuing a trend with me losing games. I came in with I think, respectable 19 points, but you beat me out with 21 points.
Which was crazy close.
Job. It was close, yeah.
Now,
very good.
Joel, since he lost, the punishment, I guess you could say, that we came up with was Joel then had to write a haiku that spoke positively about me, and I got to pick a theme or a word that had to be used, and the word I gave Joel was turtles.
Yes. Now, a couple of things here, Chris, before I regale you with this beautiful poem here. Number one, we did come up with this as the punishment, loser's prize, I guess.
Yeah, it's not really
this. Yeah, before the winners were announced, like we knew this was we forgot to say it on the podcast, but we knew this was going to be the prize. Second, when I first wrote this haiku, I forgot that it was supposed to be in praise of you. So I actually have 2 haikus.
Oh no!
I will read the actual winning haiku first, which is the one in praise of you. All right. So as a reminder for all our non-English major fans out there, a haiku has 5 syllables, followed by 7 syllables, followed by 5 syllables. That's the whole structure of a haiku. Prepare yourself. No teenage mutant anymore, but turtle-like, your hard back bears worlds.
Oh wow, that was deep.
There you go, Chris. That's how I see you. The weight of the world on your turtle shell back.
That's great.
Before I knew it was supposed to be in praise of you, this is the one I wrote. Some dread the power of dragons and instead hide in shells like turtles.
I think that should have been it, though. That was great.
Your well-known hatred of dragons inspired that one.
It rears itself again.
What better symbol for Chris than the frightened turtle huddling in its shell?
I'd like to thank my wife Caitlin for helping me come up with turtles as the theme / word that had to be incorporated there, because I was like, I don't know. She's just like, turtles? It's like, that's it, you got it.
How about that Teenage Mutant reference in there? Great. I thought that was great.
That was really good. That was really good. Well phrased and broken up.
I'll frame these and send them to you in a plaque that you can hang on your wall.
Please do. Well,
I won't, but wouldn't that be great if I did?
That would be. To wrap this Golden Geek stuff up, we do want to give a shout out, congratulations to the Board Games Hot Takes podcast on being the award winner, as well as the runners-up Space Biff and 5 Games for Doomsday. So congrats to them and all the winners and runners-up of this year's Board Game Geek Golden Geek Awards.
I think we keep doing this podcast until we get a nomination. That should be the goal.
And then we quit.
At least.
And then that's it.
No. And then we bask in the glory that we have been, bestowed upon us.
Yeah.
I think we got a long way to go before that, but that'd be fun. All right. Well, that seems like a good place to wrap things up for today, Chris. If you've enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. That is the #1 way we can grow the show and bring you more Oak and Onion action. And if you want to learn more about what we're up to, you can always follow Chris on Instagram. He's CPWilson_4.
And Joel is on Instagram and TikTok as The Diced Onion.
You can also follow our Facebook page at Oak and Onion. I don't think I've ever even been to our Facebook page.
Wow, I'm so disappointed in you.
Check that out. If you have ideas for show segments like Dylan, you can suggest other games we could play. If you want to see one of us lose really badly again, or if you just want to say hi, you can also email us at oakonionpodcast@gmail.com. And you can follow the show on Instagram and TikTok on Oak Onion Podcast. Until next time, keep your onions fresh, your cutting boards clean, and your table welcoming to everyone. We'll catch you next time. We're off to roll buckets of dice, Ameritrash style.
It's good.
Articles that I can't actually see here to find the information. This is great radio. You can edit all of this out.
I will. Don't worry.
Here for just a second. I can hear my own echo, and I don't know where that's coming from.
So I mean, I didn't really put any much different. That's great English.
Agreed.
Sorry, just do it.
I was like, am I supposed to jump in here? Is that what
No,
I don't have a line ready, Chris.
Yeah. All right. Were we done there? Moving on?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have that planned, but you said something that just triggered it, and I was like, "Here we go."
I am very triggering. That's true.
In a good in a good way. That Route 44, man, it caught up to me.
What? 44 ounces somehow had an impact?
Had an impact on my bladder. Value of the game. What?
All right.
Hey, we did it.
Yeah, that was fun.